Sound check 1 2 1 2. Going on YouTube. Happy Monday morning, everybody. Put your locations in the comments. We're going to get started. I got my reminder to all of you that you can get my daily motivation and weekly motivation text message. If you are a member of my text community, it is free to join. I would have put the number in the board. I remember the final use the board on TikTok. I would have put the number in there, but TikTok gives a warning that if you put contact information in the board, then they might limit how many people actually see your live. So they are basically discouraging that. So I didn't put the number in there. But if you go to my bio, you'll see it. So if you want the daily motivation or the Monday weekly motivation, which goes out every Monday, just send a text to the number that you see in my profile, or you can click the link you see in my profile. Y'all can get in there. As y'all are coming in, shout yourselves out. Tell me your locations in the comments, and we are going to get started in a moment. We got a lot of things to get to here today. Today we are talking more Charlie Kirk fallout, more fallout from the shooting of Charlie Kirk that happened last week. We're about 5 days ago. We have more things that need to be talked about when it comes to this, and a lot of things need to be talked about, actually. So let's get to this quickly. We are live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Live on Rumble. Good morning to Rumble. It tells us that we are active on X. Let me check and verify. Yes, we are live on X. Good morning over there on X. We are live on Facebook.com/Work on Your Game University. We're live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn and on X and on Rumble and on YouTube is all DreAllDay. Facebook is Work on Your Game University. We are live on Instagram. Instagram is at Baldwin. Con Smith from Dallas. Good morning. KingWorks21 from Tuscaloosa. Good morning. And we are live on TikTok. TikTok name is Work on Your Game. So as y'all are coming in, again, shout yourselves out. Let me shout out a few people in the comments here. Courtney with the first comment of the day. Good morning to you. Thanks for the gift. Annie AFF checking in from Kentucky, 140.6 Walnut Creek, California. Carol Ann Collins, Newburgh, New York. Nikki from Connecticut. Good morning. Courtney from Nashville. Good morning. Marky Man, Sacramento. Murphy the Mutt, Bristol, Tennessee. Traditional all day. Yes, please let people know. Tap the screen as they come in. We do 100K a day over here in likes, everybody on TikTok. 100K a day on likes is the standard. Dwayne Mitchell, 90 from Detroit, checking in. Good morning. Little PP said, I don't know what you're referring to there. You said something about an exit wound. Kyle said, is DreAllDay? That is correct. Nikki said 200K day. All right, we're good with that too. Popular P says, why does the Democrats hate Trump so much more than any other Republican president? Well, there's a lot of reasons. We talked about that extensively here. We probably will talk about it again. He still has, 3 more years to go? Yeah, so we got some time. Sherry, 1967, good morning. Destiny, thank you for the share. Carla, Indiana, good morning. Good to see you. Giga Dad, good morning from North Carolina. Cal said, I did all your basketball drills as a young teen. That's what's up. But hopefully it got you on a team and scored you some points. That work that you did there, Cal 4422. Joe Byron said, we are all Charlie Kirk. What do you mean by that? Yeah, y'all can get moderator. Thank you for getting rid of that person, whatever he was doing. Y'all can also try. You can test out muting people for the day and see if they come back the next day. But if you want to block them, if they're spamming, you can block them too. That's fine. Happiness Now checking in from the ATL. Memory, me, Mary B, checking in from Illinois. Good morning, Illinois. Someone said, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Good morning from Louisiana. 757, Christina Teft Martin, checking in from the 757. Shout out to VA. 11 Bravo from South Carolina. Ronaldo. I see what you tried to do there. Amparo, good morning. Murphy the Mutt, good morning. T Stump said 1 in 5 women agree with your state. What's it? I didn't say anything. Not yet. Linda, Sportsnut 26 from Minnesota. Shout out to Minnesota. Brian Mill, Real Estate, checking in from Chicago. So we're talking about the Charlie Kirk fallout. We've gotten a little bit more information, and there's just more stuff that's been said about it. So let's just start. Joey checking in from Massachusetts. Good morning. First of all, let's just start with just in the big picture with the country itself. What I've seen over the last couple days after the Charlie Kirk shooting and then the conversation started. The shooting was what, Wednesday? There's a lot of conversation Thursday, a lot of it on Friday. Some things happened over the weekend. It shows us just how, when it comes to the vocal minority, and by the way, the vocal minority is all of us. We are the vocal minority. The vocal minority is the people who are talking about this out loud and talking about it publicly. And if you're posting a comment on social media, that is public. We're the vocal minority talking about this out loud. The silent majority is the people who, everybody else who knows about it and has an opinion, but they're not saying anything publicly about it. They're not posting on social media. When it comes to the vocal minority, there is a huge divide happening here in this country. Now, why does that vocal minority divide matter? Because the things that people in the vocal minority say, whether you're an influencer, podcaster, streamer, or just a person who observes and leaves comments, the things that people like us say has an effect on the people who are not saying anything. This is where people are getting their news and information from these days, going on the internet. And there is a huge divide right now. And that divide matters for the reasons that I just gave, amongst many other reasons. And if we just think about this, a man lost his life getting shot by somebody who shouldn't have did it. It's not like the guy was, Charlie Kirk wasn't out there physically threatening anybody. Somebody took his life because they already had a problem with the guy. It's not something he did right there on the spot. They already had a problem with him. We're going to get to that here today because we have new information about the suspect. Still a suspect. He has not yet been adjudicated. So there's more information about the suspect and what he did and why he did it and what had been leading up to it. This wasn't some spur of the moment thing for this guy. This was planned out by this gentleman who went and did, or the suspect, remember, who allegedly did what he did to Charlie Kirk. We know it happened, but we don't know who did it just yet officially. And when this happens, somebody losing their life like this, the default response from most people is, that's terrible to happen to that guy. He was a family man. He had kids. Even if he didn't have a family, even if he didn't have kids, he wasn't doing anything wrong to anybody else. So for him to lose his life in a senseless way is tragic and is bad, even if you didn't like the things that the guy was saying. Again, all he was doing was saying things. All Charlie Kirk was known for was saying stuff. He would do debates. He had a podcast. He'd be on social media. He'd be on the internet. He would be at a political rallies trying to get people to go vote for a politician. And that's normal game. There's hundreds and thousands of people out there who do the exact same things. Charlie Kirk was very effective at it. He was very well known for doing it. But there was nothing that Charlie Kirk was doing or saying that would justify him losing his life. Now, because of this, that's why I say it's so crazy how people immediately jump to respond and find ways to justify him losing his life simply because they didn't agree with the things that he was talking about or the side, quote unquote, that he was defending, espousing, or speaking up for. That does not justify it. And even if people are just talking on the internet, some people say, well, it's just the internet. It's just talking. It's just social media. It's not just social media. When the things that are being said on social media, first of all, people lose their jobs for things they say on social media. Is this true? Yes. People get arrested for things they say on social media. Over in the UK, that's happening right now. That you can get arrested for something that you said on the internet if it happens to go against the rules that they have set for you. So it's not just social media anymore. This stuff is being taken seriously. And for him to lose his life over that and people to get on social media and start saying that somehow, some way it was okay because of something that he said, that he was not inciting anybody to do anything to anyone else. He was not saying, go do this to this person, and then it happened to that person. There's nothing that he possibly said. And I've heard a lot of what Charlie Kirk had to say, even the things that his detractors are saying that he said, either quoting or paraphrasing him or trying to make it seem like he said something that he didn't say. Even those things, there's nothing that he said that would justify him losing his life. So for people to jump out and say it's okay for any reason, or to try to make it sound like they're saying it's okay, just because you didn't like what he said, shows that people have lost their minds. I said this Thursday. I said this on Friday. I'm saying it again today. And if we talk about this again in the future, I will say this again. Now, moving on. Erica Kirk. Some of you may not know who Erica Kirk is. Erica Kirk is Charlie Kirk's now widowed wife. She posted a video on social media. I believe it was the day after. I saw it going around on Friday, and a lot of people had response to what she posted in the video and photos that she posted. I think she posted more than one thing. But one of the things that she posted that got a lot of attention was showing her mourning at the casket of her husband. She didn't show him from the neck up because he got hit in the neck. But you can see it was his body, and he's laying in the casket, and he's been embalmed, and she is mourning at the casket of her husband. And I'm guessing, based on the framing that I saw, that she wasn't active on social media before this. So this was like her newest post on social media. Let's see if we can find it, because I didn't even go look it up. I just saw other people posting it. Erica Kirk. Yeah, so Erica Kirk is here on social media, and no, she is active on social media. She was already active on social media. So I don't know why people were saying, why are you posting this as your first post? This was not her first post. She was already active. She has 5 million followers on Instagram. Maybe it was on a different app. And I'm just looking. So 2 days ago. Yeah, so here it is right here. So I'll show you all the posts. So this post by Mrs. Erica Kirk on Instagram. First one is a pretty simple one. This is her morning post. This is the post that came out on 2 days ago. So today's Monday. So let's say this came out on Saturday. It's a picture of her and her husband, Charlie Kirk. And it looks like this might be Grand Canyon. I don't know. Don't ask me about this nature stuff. And she's holding her daughter and son, and she's giving the kid a kiss, and Charlie's in the back smiling. And then the next photo is this photo right here. So Charlie's in the casket, and that's her mourning by the casket of her husband. Then it's this one. This is the one that was going around getting a lot of attention. So this is his body suited up, and this is her on top of it. And you see his body's all kind of yellow because he's been embalmed. And she is mourning and kissing the hand and crying at the hand of her husband and his body. And showing this, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's the Medal of Freedom. I don't know if he's been granted that yet. Shows her kissing it, and then it shows the casket being wheeled out. This is all her post. This is a what do they call this? A carousel post that she did on Instagram just the other day, and it shows the casket being wheeled out. And Charlie Kirk's a pretty tall guy. I heard he was like 6'5". He's pretty tall. And then it shows a flag at half staff in recognition of Charlie Kirk losing his life. And then it's her giving a hug to somebody. I don't know who that is. Then it looks like her walking out. I believe this is J.D. Vance's wife walking out to Air Force Two, which is a plane that the vice president flies on, after Charlie's passing, walking out to a plane. And there's more. And these carousels are long these days. Yeah, so it's Erica, and I don't know who that woman is to her left. Then it looks like Usha Vance, I believe her name is, J.D. Vance's wife, and J.D. Vance standing there, right there. And yeah, some other people just looking sad here. And military post. This is all in the same post by Erica Kirk. I'm going to read the caption. She says, "The world is evil, but our Savior, our Lord, our God, He is so good. I will never have the words ever. The sound of this widow weeping echoes throughout this world like a battle cry. I have no idea what any of this means. But baby, I know you do, and so does our Lord. They have no idea what they just ignited within this wife. If they thought my husband's mission was big now, you have no idea. You, all of you, will never, ever forget my husband, Charlie Kirk. I'll make sure of it. Rest in the arms of our Lord, baby, as he blankets you with the words I know your heart always strived to hear." Open quote. "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Close quote. So this is the post by Erica Kirk that came out a few days ago. Now, a lot of people had a lot of response to this, and she gave a little speech. She put out another video and gave a speech, and y'all will have to go listen to that on your own because I can't repost that on TikTok. But y'all have probably seen it if you're already TikTok users. I'll just show you a glimpse of her standing at the podium before she gives a speech. Y'all can go look that up and find it on your own. Now, a lot of people are responding to this by saying, why would she post that? Why would this be the thing that you post this video of your husband in the casket, et cetera, after you pass? So first of all, when I saw the stuff floating around on X, because that's the place where I do my engagement on social media. I don't scroll on Instagram, so I never would have saw that. But when I saw the posts on X, a lot of people were just taking that video of her mourning of her husband in the casket, and they were showing that. Why are you showing this video of your husband in the casket? Why is that the first thing you show when your husband passes away? Nobody was noting that this was part of a carousel post. There's like 15 posts in there. Y'all saw what I just showed you. That was all one post. And you just scroll over and there's all these different things, photos and videos of how she was mourning. And the first thing was just a picture of her and her husband and the kids smiling. That was the first thing. And then it was other things. Then it came to the video, but people were framing it as if that's the main thing that she put out as a way of responding. And a lot of people were saying the first thing is if she just hopped on social media to do that, was also not true. And I'm just noticing this right now. So I'm telling you this right now in real time. This is the kind of nonsense that people are doing when they decide they want to go against somebody. They'll just come out and just tell you a straight up lie by omission, or they'll just leave information out or pull things out of context just to try to make somebody look bad. And this is the wife of a man who just very publicly lost his life in front of a whole bunch of people less than a week ago. And this is how deranged people have gotten over politics in the last 10 years. This is derangement. That's what this is. This is just straight up derangement. These people have lost their minds. And Charlie Kirk, as we already know, was well connected to the Trump administration because he was a conservative. He started Turning Point USA, the biggest, probably one of the biggest as far as for youth, let's say under 40 people, conservative organizations probably in the world, let alone the United States of America. He ran that thing and had a lot of people under his umbrella of that organization. And that's a point I'm going to make about Turning Point USA in a moment that I just found out this morning. And he helped Trump get elected. Again, I said Trump helped Trump get elected. Then Elon helped Trump. And Charlie Kirk is right there parallel with Elon. He did the blood, sweat, and tears. Elon put up the money to get Trump elected in 2024. And people are so deranged when it comes to Donald Trump that they are happy to see somebody who was close to him losing his life because it justifies their derangement over Donald Trump. We'll just use the word derangement for now. There's other words you could use. But people are deranged. And this has caused people to lose their minds. Somebody's losing their life and you're on the internet talking as if it's okay. Why? Because you don't like Donald Trump so much. It's not even Donald Trump lost. Like, it's a guy who was connected to him some way, indirectly, that people are still going crazy over this. And I just think this is ridiculous. It's showing how depraved our society has become that people have forgotten. Like, let's just remember some basic, just human stuff. Let's just remember some human skills here. But we're willing to throw that out the window because Trump is such a bad guy that we're gonna just find a way to. People are gonna find a way to rationalize and justify this. And people are saying, well, why would you post that when your husband passes away? I didn't know. I have no personal experience. Maybe some of you do. I didn't know that there was a protocol for how you are allowed to post on the internet after your spouse passes away. I didn't know there was a thing that, oh, here are the rules, the things you can do and the things that you can't do. Does anybody know about any rules that I didn't know about? Put a yes or no in the comments. If the answer is yes, please tell me what the rules are. I don't know. Is there a rule? Okay, so if your spouse passes away, you can do this, but you can't do that. You can say this, but you can't say that. You can post a picture, but you can't post a video. You can give a speech, but you can't give a speech. You can say something, but you can't say something. I didn't know there were rules. I didn't know this was a thing. So people are coming out saying, well, why would you say that after your husband passed away? It's like, first of all, do you have a husband? Secondly, has your husband been shot? Third, did it happen publicly? And what'd you post? Again, what's the rules? So again, this is just depravity is what this is. I'm using this as an example, but it's just depravity that people have had since all of this happened. Another thing in the bigger picture, United States of America. If you want to say the country is divided over things, absolutely when it comes to politics, there's a huge divide for people who are politically engaged. Not everybody's politically engaged. I'd say about half the country is engaged politically, and maybe even less than half. But right now, there is a huge divide. And our enemies, whoever you think the enemies are of the United States of America, they are sitting by happily watching all of this take place, especially since Trump won in 2024. I think they actually would have been happy even if Kamala had won, because we'd be divided then too, just for different reasons and in a different way. But there's a huge divide right now, and America's enemies are sitting by happily watching all of this dissension increase. Why? Because a divided America is a beatable America. In case any of you who pays attention to geopolitics or you care, or you're thinking about the future that your kids are going to have to live in, a divided America is a very beatable America. And right now, there is no need for anyone to invade or try to directly fight against the United States, because all they have to do right now is just sit back and watch America destroy itself. That's where we're headed right now. Right now, America is on path to destroy itself. Now, again, this could have happened even if Trump had not won in 2024, and let's say his career was over. This still could have happened, because there still would have been a political divide. Again, it would have been for a different reason, and it would have been happening in a different way. Had Kamala won, the different reason, a different way would have been because of our southern border. It would have been happening that way. And the dissatisfaction citizens have with what's happening at the border and the people coming in through the border and what they will be doing to change the mix of what's going on in this country, it would have been happening then. And because the people would have been really angry at whoever would have been in charge, which would have been Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I mean, imagine that. It still would have been a divide, and it still would have been growing the same way it is now. Again, it's just happening in a different way, but either way, this was inevitable given the two candidates that we had in the fall of 2024. So our enemies are sitting back and watching America destroy itself, because any president, present and future, who makes a decision is going to have the country against it, because we're anything but united right now. It may take a while before we get a uniting president. Who was the last one? Who was the last president that united the country, that people were generally happy? You could just say on a general level. Again, of course, you're always going to have the Republicans not liking the Democrats not liking the Republicans. I'm talking politics and everyday citizens. The last president I would say that had people generally united, I would give 50% to George W. Bush, especially after 9/11. But then what he did after 9/11 led to a lot of questions. I would say we had to say Clinton. I would say Bill Clinton. I would have to say it was Clinton. What do y'all think? Give me a name. Who do y'all think was the last president under which the country was generally united? So some saying Nixon, some saying Ronald Reagan. See, I don't remember their terms. I don't remember their administrations. The first person I can think of in my time paying attention and noticing this stuff, I would have to say Bill Clinton. Definitely not. No, it's not Trump. And that doesn't mean Trump is wrong. Doesn't mean Trump's bad. Not Biden. Doesn't mean Biden's bad, at least not for this reason. Not Obama. And again, George W. Bush, kind of, sort of. For a little while, George W. Bush was that. After 9/11, George Bush was that. But then the news started coming out that George Bush no and all these things. And then the forever wars we went into after 9/11. And then the financial crisis that happened. And many people are blaming Bush for that. So I can't give Bush full credit for it. I can give him maybe 50%, maybe not more than 50%. Closest was Bill Clinton. And the reason why I give it to Bill Clinton, even though he had the Lewinsky thing, I mean, yes, people went against him. But the reason I give it to Bill Clinton, because we had a lot of economic prosperity in that time period. Late 90s was a lot of economic prosperity. Everybody was winning. Everybody was happy. And again, I'm speaking directionally. That was the last time people weren't at each other's throats over politics. Again, there was always debates. There was always disagreement. But since then, the last 25 years, we've been divided. So as this grows, especially as the fabric of our country is changing through what was happening at that border, and may continue to happen if Kamala Harris, again, shudder to think about it, Gavin Newsom, or someone of that ilk is to come in 2028. Again, those of you who are conservatives, don't get cocky. 2028 is kind of far away, but it ain't that far away. If one of them goes to come in 2028, one of these Californians come in to run the country, again, don't get cocky about the border being quiet right now. America is on track for destroying itself right now, even with Trump as president. Is on track for doing it right now. And let's continue, because I got a lot that I need to get to here. So the shooter, suspected shooter. If I don't say that every time, that's what I mean. Tyler James Robinson is the gentleman's name. 22 years old. He got arrested last week for under suspicion of shooting Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Now, more details have come out about this gentleman, about his online behavior. He had some relationships we know about, and who's cooperating versus what remains unconfirmed. So authorities have said this guy is scheduled to appear in court tomorrow, Mr. Tyler. Now, he has not been cooperating with law enforcement after his arrest. In other words, what that means is they're asking him questions, he ain't answering them. That's basically what it means. He's not answering any questions. He is exercising his right to remain silent, which he does have. He has a right to not talk. He's choosing to exercise that right and not talk. Now, people around him are cooperating. This is where it gets interesting. Now, Mr. Tyler James Robinson, we'll just call him Tyler, he had a roommate who was of the LGBTQ persuasion, particularly a man who was living as a woman. That was his roommate / partner. They were in a relationship and they were roommates, Tyler and his partner. Now, investigators recovered the rifle. We know about they recovered the weapon that was used, allegedly. And then there were bullet casings with means reference on it that y'all heard about that last week. Now, the roommate, allegedly, and they found out that he was communicating in Discord. Discord is like this community chat, let's just call it a software platform for people to communicate with each other, for lack of a better term, lack of a better description. Now, the roommate said they were shocked by the event. They have been cooperating with police. The roommate is cooperating. And they've shared messages and evidence, including note that the suspect allegedly left that describes leaving a rifle at the drop point, basically told that they left the rifle, hiding the weapon, engraving bullets, and other planning details. In other words, the roommate has shared material that has shown authorities that this was premeditated. Now, last time I remember hearing the word premeditated was O.J. Simpson trial. So the premeditated this activity of Mr. Tyler. Now, Discord already deleted Mr. Robinson's account, and Discord is claiming that there is no evidence that Tyler planned the attack via Discord because Discord doesn't want any hot water on their asses. So they're saying, hey, he didn't plan it on our platform. And they're basically trying to absolve themselves, which is fine. They should do that. If I ran Discord, I would do the same thing. Now, many messages described in the media were recounted by the roommate from the note, not directly from Discord. Again, Discord is trying to CYA. That means cover your ass, for those who don't know what that means. Now, the motive is still not clear, though left-leaning ideology, online radicalization, and dislike of Charlie Kirk and other political anger have been explored as possible contributing factors, many of these things being seen. So there was a Discord conversation going on. And I was looking this up this morning, trying to see if I could find more information. But Megyn Kelly, on her morning report, she was reading off some of the messages that she found that, again, allegedly were being shared in a Discord group that Mr. Tyler was a part of. Tyler is the alleged shooter. He was a part of. Now, I found this article on Newsweek that says Tyler Robinson's messages discuss hiding rifle, engraving bullets. So let me go over some highlights from this article. Again, this is from Newsweek. And this is all found on Google, folks. So talk about Charlie Kirk. His roommate has not been identified, so nobody knows this guy's name. He probably doesn't want to be identified right now. So you have a target on him, not as far as his life, but people looking him up and harassing him probably. So there was an account on Discord called Tyler. The roommate identified that, yes, that's him. And it stated the need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush. This is what he said on Discord after the event, after the shooting. And he also mentioned wrapping the weapon up in a towel. So this guy basically went to his Discord group and confessed to everybody what he had just done. Why he did this, I don't know. He basically told on himself. He's going to get convicted. Maybe he will try to plea, but this is looking like a possible death penalty case. Utah said they're going to pursue the death penalty. So Tyler, this is Tyler on Discord, discussed having to change outfits. He talked about engraving bullets, as well as mentioning a scope and the rifle being unique messages. Now, Mr. Cox, he is the Utah governor, Governor Cox. He said the roommate made mention of a quote-unquote joke Robinson made on Discord. And the joke was, investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord, and he showed them all. So the roommate obviously hasn't been well-versed in dealing with police officers. Number one rule of being questioned by police officers is don't answer any questions. Ask for a lawyer. Obviously, this guy doesn't know any better. And because he doesn't know any better, we got more information. So Cox said that investigators asked the roommate, can you show us the messages on Discord? The roommate could have said no, and the roommate said yes. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators. And he allowed investigators to take photos of the screen. Now, again, I am not in support of the suspected shooter. If he is indeed the shooter, this was a dumb and terrible thing to do, and he should pay for it, probably with his life. At the same time, the roommate, just speaking objectively, because I told you I try to be as logical and objective as possible. I'll say this again for those of you who do not know. If cops start asking you questions, you tell them, I will exercise my right to remain silent, and I would like an attorney. Even if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be given to you, also known as a public defender. This idiot, Tyler's roommate, obviously doesn't know this. He doesn't know his rights. He needs to go to a Colin Kaepernick Know Your Rights event so he can learn his rights with police. And he started talking to cops. All right, do not talk to cops without a lawyer present. All right, they are trained to take advantage of anything you tell them, and anything you say can and will be used against you. All right, so this dummy was answering all the questions, and he let the cops take pictures of the screen of all the stuff on Discord. This is going to be used against his roommate, his partner, at trial when this happens. And again, he doesn't know any better, but it's too late now. Now, these photos consisted of various messages, including content and messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. So the content of these messages included messages affiliated with, again, Tyler. So they're just explaining their legalese why they're sure it's him. They're related to visibly watching the area where a rifle was left, a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. Okay, so basically letting his friends know, I left the gun over there. Then the engraved bullets messages. Discord removed Robinson for violating his off-platform behavior policy. I didn't know there was such thing as an off-platform behavior policy. Did y'all know that social media apps had that? Off-platform behavior policy. I've never heard this term before. So basically, they can kick you off the app for your behavior off the app. I've never heard of that. That's interesting. Anyway, we won't get into that here today. So they found evidence. They found no evidence, rather. Spokesperson for Discord said he did not plan an incident. Again, I already told y'all, Discord is just trying to cover their asses right now, which they should. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, Robinson's mother posted. Okay, so they found Robinson's mother. We knew about that already. What people are saying, I'm just looking for a couple things here. Criminal defense attorney says something. Discord spokesperson says something. They're just covering their asses. We ain't got to talk about that. Let's continue. So let me introduce myself first. I haven't even done that yet. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as DreAllDay, former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our job here is to help you command the room through your presence, energy, aura, in such a way that people notice you, follow you, and respect you, and remember you, even if they never actually talk to you. Combine that with you actually being good and actually having substance and actually speaking, it 10x's that effect. You want to learn how to do that, whether you're talking sports, business, entrepreneurship at your job, in your personal life, in your relationships, in your intimate relationships, any other way. Go to the link in my profile. You can learn more about working with me directly. And the link in my profile will tell you how to get my daily motivation and Monday motivation text messages, which I send out every day and every week, respectively. Now, the roommate partner's cooperation is significant. I just told you all this. The cooperation is foolish, but also significant, because they're helping authorities provide firsthand information about his plans and his mindset. The good thing for Robinson, I guess, with his roommate cooperating, is that Robinson and his lawyer, whomever his lawyer may be, can look at the evidence that is being mounted by authorities right now, by the state of Utah, and see, okay, they got all this information on me. I have no chance of winning this case. He might try to plead guilty and beg for mercy from the court, so he can have anything other than a death penalty happen to him. He might go that route, because if he tries to plead not guilty and try to fight this, then he's going to lose, and he might end up getting a death penalty just for trying to fight it. I know some lawyers, and lawyers say they have this thing called a trial tax. Those of you who never heard of that, a trial tax is when you get charged with a crime, and if you, instead of pleading out, pleading just means usually plead to something lesser than what they're trying to charge you with, and in exchange for doing that, you get a more lenient sentence than had you gone to trial and been convicted of the higher charge. And again, you're asking for leniency from the court by pleading. And by pleading, you're helping the court out, because now they get a conviction, and that goes on their record as a stat. It's not as high as what they would have got. They got a conviction, and they get it without having to go through trial. Going through trial takes a lot of time and resources, time being one of those resources. So you basically help the court, and they help you. It's like you help us, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours by taking a plea. But if you, on the other hand, say, no, I'm not going to take a plea, I want to go to trial. I want to go to trial on this. If you go to trial, of course, like O.J. Simpson, you have a chance of winning. If you win, you win. Now you get to walk out scot-free, of course, after all the time you put into and the money you put into and the stress you put on everybody to actually fight the case if you win. Now, if you lose, on the other hand, you get this thing. Again, a lawyer told me about this. It's called a trial tax. And by the way, I'm not a lawyer. I just played one on TikTok. And he said the trial tax is, if you go to trial and you lose, you end up getting a worse sentence, a more harsh sentence than you would have got had you just taken the plea in the first place. They tax you. The tax is we're going to make this even worse just because of the fact that you made us work hard to get you convicted when you could have just said yes to the plea bargain at the beginning of this situation and saved us all some time and effort. But since you made us work for this, we're going to make you pay for it. That's called the trial tax. I'm saying all that to say that this guy, Tyler, might decide he doesn't want to risk the trial tax, which probably would be the death penalty for him, and maybe take a plea and hopefully get life incarceration rather than the death penalty, which it looks like what Utah's going to go after right here. Anyway, just as a side note. So this is helping piece together the timeline and the motive for Mr. Tyler. And at this point, with the information we have now, we don't even have all the information. There's a ton more information that's going to come out. This just happened less than a week ago. They already got a ton of information on this guy. I think this is what they would call dead to rights, pretty much. He's in trouble. And I think the only thing he should be aiming for right now is to just spend the rest of his life incarcerated, as opposed to losing his life. I think that's the best move right now. But again, we don't have all the information. And again, this is all allegedly. He has not even officially been charged yet. Actually, he is being held on a charge, but he hasn't been officially arraigned yet. But we'll see. Now, relying on roommate recounted note excerpts instead of direct digital planning or confession creates space for ambiguity and doubts. This is what people who hate Charlie Kirk would say right now. But as I just said, they got this guy dead to rights. There ain't really much left to say about this. Now, the engraved bullet casings with meme references, anti-fascist inscriptions, it suggests symbolism was important to him. He basically telegraphed everything that he was going to do. He telegraphed his movements here. Now, had he not done anything, then I guess this would mean nothing. It would all be benign. But the fact that he went and actually shot Charlie Kirk, hit him, killed him, he's telegraphed everything that he was going to do. And I'll say again for the third time here, he's probably best just pleading for life incarceration. That's what it's looking like right now. I don't think he really has much. Now, however, the inscriptions and the means, while provocative, some say, this is the counterpoint, they don't prove motive nor legally establish ideological intent in court. And at this point, I don't think that even matters. It doesn't really matter because of the person he shot, because of the framing around it that he was talking about. Charlie Kirk was answering the question around. Right before he got to the question was the question. He was asked the question about transgenders. Did y'all see the video where Charlie Kirk got shot? How many of y'all saw the actual video? Give me a yes or a no. How many of you saw the video? Like, there was a video out there of him actually getting hit. You could literally see, you couldn't see the bullet, but you could see him getting hit and you could see the blood come out. How many of you saw the video? Okay, so, all right, all of you saw the video. All right, many of you saw the video. So in the video, you see Charlie Kirk was being asked the question. He got asked two questions, and then he responded. So the first question was, and I'm paraphrasing here, how many shootings have been done by transgender people? And Charlie Kirk's answer, the person was asking, do you know how many? The person was asking for a number, and Charlie Kirk's responded very smartly. He said, too many. And the crowd started clapping for that. And then there was a follow-up question. It was something around like gangs. It was something around just mass shootings in general. And Charlie Kirk said, well, he asked for clarification. He was asking the person, do you mean shootings that involve gangs or shootings that don't involve gangs? He was asking for clarification from the questioner. And as soon as he finished speaking and saying that, waiting for the answer from the person in the audience, boom, the bullet hit him. And that was when the video ended. That's how it happened. Now, this whole situation here, prosecutors needing evidence that connects these symbols to planning or specific statements, I say it doesn't really matter. Because of the context, and I didn't even get to the rest of the context yet because there's some more context here when it comes to that question. How many shootings by transgender people? We're going to get to why that matters in a second. So just hold that thought. Now, Mr. Robinson's online activity, that's the alleged shooter, particularly jokes and messages in Discord and other platforms that indicate awareness of his interest in this whole situation. This may give insight to his state of mind during the manhunt period, why he was running, why he actually did this, why he would plan this. And it doesn't seem like, based on the things that were said that I heard Megyn Kelly talk about from Discord this morning, I couldn't find the actual messages she was reading from. I don't know where she got that from. But according to, let me see if I can find it while I'm on here. As they said, authorities were allowed to take pictures of the screen, but I don't know if authorities put that stuff out. And let me see if I can find it. But anyway, while I'm looking this up, how Discord and social media shaped Tyler Robinson's story. I didn't know there was a Tyler Robinson story already. But more photos are coming out about this kid ever since this happened. One thing about the internet, folks, is that if you become infamous, people find out everything about your life within like 72 hours. So any of you want the whole world to know about you, do something infamous, and people will become who's a famous detective. They'll become Matlock and get all your information out in like 30, maybe 36 hours, maybe 72 hours if you don't have much of a digital footprint. But anyway, I'll see if I can find that maybe for future conversations. Now, Discord has clarified that he didn't plan on Discord. I've said that like 5 times here today. Again, Discord is just trying not to get sued. That's the reason why they keep coming out saying this, is they don't want to get sued. And again, if I was running Discord, I would do the same thing they're doing. Now, the rescued rifle was identified in surveillance and in tip-offs, and the physical evidence, the casing inscriptions, the location of the rifle, all of that stuff is tangible proof this was premeditated. Shout out to O.J. Simpson, rather than spontaneous. So it makes the argument for a planned attack stronger, and premeditated murder is worse than off the cuff, like it just happened, spur of the moment murder. Why? Because you were thinking about it ahead of time, knowing that you were going to do it, and you did it anyway. That makes it look worse in the eyes of the law. So he will look worse in front of a jury for the fact that he planned this out, had a chance to think about it. And as long as he's not pleading some type of mental insanity, you had a chance to think about it, knowing you're about to do the wrong thing. You thought about doing the wrong thing. You planned on doing the wrong thing. And then you actually followed through and did the wrong thing and took somebody's life. Yeah, under the jail. Under the jail. This is death penalty area. That's what he's looking at right now. Still, no confession, no full motive publicly confirmed. And his silence means much of the narrative depends on what third parties, such as his roommate, his family, the people on Discord, what they provide. And I doubt the people on Discord are going to identify themselves and come to the cops and talk. So I doubt the police will be able to get, the authorities, investigators will be able to get anybody from that Discord group. There were several people. I don't think they're going to get any of them to identify themselves publicly and take the stand either for or against their friend. I don't think it'd be smart of them to do that, because if you even take the stand to support your friend for the defense, you got to get cross-examined by the prosecution, and boom, you're in trouble. And if they get up there and testify against them, well, what's the point? What do they gain? And they're going to expose themselves as being part of the group. And just because you're a part of the group, guilt by association. I mean, the same thing Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was guilty by association because he was a supporter of Donald Trump. If this guy, and he was guilty by association by people on the left. Now, any of these people from that Discord group, or even his roommate, come out and they take the stand during trial, they are going to be guilty by association in the eyes of the right. Why? Because you were hanging with the guy who did this bad thing to one of our guys, which would be Charlie Kirk. And when I say our guys, I mean people on the right saying I'm speaking as one of them. So the roommate, they are probably going to be compelled to take the stand if this goes to trial. And this is another tricky thing, because think about it. Tyler, the alleged shooter, he's the one who will be going to trial. But since the roommate / partner, they shared information with authorities, the authorities can use the fact that they shared that information to compel the roommate to go take the stand at trial as a witness of the prosecution. So basically, they'd be calling this person to testify against their roommate / partner, their friend. And now you're putting the roommate in a tricky spot. Tyler will be putting their roommate in a tricky spot by even going to trial, because now your roommate is going to have to testify against you, and they're your roommate. And they were on a Discord group with you, and they probably had some idea of what you were going to do, and anything they say on the stand is going to get used against Tyler to get him convicted. Even if they didn't have any of this stuff, he's still in trouble. Without any of this, he's still in trouble, because they got him on the video. They know it was him. They are pretty sure he's the guy who did it. His dad and some church leader turned him in. Now, I'm not sure how much of a defense he has. I mean, he's going to try, because in the United States of America, everybody gets their right to court. Everyone has their right to a fair and speedy trial. He can try, but I don't really see any outs for him. And I tell him, listen, we're looking at two things here. Either they're going to take your life, death penalty, or you can just spend the rest of your life in jail. Which one you want? All right, this is where we're at. This is not a false binary. This is a real binary. All right, you got two choices. All right, which one you want? All right, you want to hopefully live for the rest of your life and just spend the time in jail? Then I think you might need to take a plea here and throw your mercy upon the court. As of the information we have right now. Again, all of this is subject to change, ladies and gentlemen, given new information. This is all the information we have now, 5 days in. Now, again, he has not confessed. We haven't heard him speak yet. I don't know if we've seen an actual video of him himself yet. And when he goes to court on Tuesday, I'm pretty sure this will probably be on video. We'll have artwork, as they call it in the news world. We'll have artwork as of Tuesday, once he goes to court. And we get, maybe there'll be video, maybe there'll be pictures. We'll see. Hopefully it is video to where this happens. This is a state level thing. So hopefully this is all filmed and on video and we can see the video, as opposed to if it's a federal thing like the Diddy trial. Y'all remember the Diddy trial? All you got was those pictures drawn by the court artists. But because federal cases don't allow cameras in the courtroom, but state level cases, depending on which state, they can allow cameras in the courtroom. So hopefully we get cameras in the courtroom, video cameras, and we get to see this. Now, public conversation has shifted, we see. Many are now discussing radicalization, online echo chambers, and platform responsibility. So let's strike the platform responsibility. This is not on Discord. All right, the reason that social media exists, one of the main things that social media allows is people's freedom of expression. And you do have a right to, the First Amendment says you have a right to free speech. You can say whatever you want. You can hate Charlie Kirk and you can talk about it online if that's how you feel. You can hate the president. Talk about him online if that's how you feel. You can hate a group. You can hate the LGBTQ. You can hate black people, white people, women, kids, dogs. Doesn't matter. You have a right to free speech. You can say that. I don't like the concept of platform responsibility, like they're responsible because somebody's talking crazy on their platform. No, the person's responsible for talking crazy. All I did was provide a platform. Now, if you're doing something illegal, then yes, we can step in. But if you're just talking crazy, you got a right to talk crazy. All right, why? Because in America, the First Amendment protects your right to talk crazy. Now, online echo chambers, well, this is one of the reasons people join certain groups online, because they want to hear what they want to hear. I get the concept of people saying online echo chambers are not good things. Okay. But that doesn't mean you can stop online echo chambers from existing. People tend to gather around and hang with and talk with people they agree with. That's just how life works. And people are saying radicalization. Was this guy radicalized? I think it's fair to say he was. I think he was radicalized. Let's talk about this, because the whole concept here was around when this shooting happened last week. First, people are like, well, who did it? Who did it? Who did it? This is the first thing everybody thinks now. When some type of shooting happens, whether it's a school shooting, some tragic thing happens, but it's a shooting. The first thing everybody's wondering is who did it, so that people who are hard on one side or another, socially or politically, can load up their ammo and fire their weapons at the other side. Like, look, one of yours did this bad thing. Hey, somebody on the left did this. Somebody on the right did it. A trans person did it. A conservative person did it. A MAGA supporter did it. A Republican did it. A person who was raised liberal did it. This is what people do these days. And again, this is all a reflection of the depravity of our society, that this is the first thing everybody's thinking is who did it. Just so, listen, actually, let me back up. The first thing that people are thinking is who did it. I'm thinking that too. So if I hear a shooting happen, I want to know who did it too. I want to know who is the person that did this, because this is a bad thing. They're probably going to go to jail, and they just took somebody's life. Or who did this? Or they at least tried to. Who did this? I want to know who did it. But I don't want to know who did it just so I can point fingers at anybody on one side or another side, because I'm not on a side, so I have nothing to gain from pointing fingers at any side. But there's a lot of people who are like that. They want to know who did it. So when the Charlie Kirk thing happened, everybody's wondering who did it. So the first thing was, well, maybe it was a trans person. Maybe it was a liberal person. Maybe it was a Trump-hating person. And then what it came out was, this guy's white. He's from Utah. And Utah is a heavily conservative state. I said this last week. Utah is a heavily conservative state. So whoever the person is, I'm pretty sure they were raised conservative if they're from Utah. And I don't know how many people just run around with a gun in Utah who ain't from Utah. So he was from Utah. His family's from Utah. His family was conservative, as predicted. It wouldn't be hard to predict that. And people were saying, a lot of people on the left were saying, well, hey, look at this. He's a white kid from a conservative family who are probably Trump supporters. Then that means a Trump supporter did their own Trump supporter in LOL. That was the whole conversation. Oh, they did it to themselves. So they were MAGA and they're this and that. And there was Nancy Mace who came out and said, well, this person might have been trans or trans ideology or trans supporting, et cetera, et cetera. People tried to push back against that. Well, here's the information that we have, in case any of you didn't know. The roommate is trans. The idiot roommate who talked to the cops is trans. And Alan over there on TikTok said, just because a family conservative doesn't make him a conservative. That's correct. Don't get ahead of me here, Alan. So, first of all, the roommate is trans. They were in a relationship together. They were not just roommates. They were in a relationship, allegedly. Again, this is all alleged for now until it is 100% confirmed in a court of law. These days, we got to call everything alleged, even though I may not say it every time. So this is a male. The shooter is Tyler. He's a male. He was raised in a conservative family. He's white. He's from Utah. He shoots a guy who was clearly, this is Charlie Kirk, clearly against anything under the rainbow flag, because Charlie Kirk was a devout Christian and he talked about it all the time. And Christianity is staunchly against that. Now let's connect the dots here. You're raised in a conservative family. For whatever reason, you are trans supporting. I guess, what do we call this? We call this trans supporting, whatever you want to call this guy. Let's just say trans supporting. You're in a relationship with a trans person. Now, his roommate allegedly is a male who presents as a female. Okay, question, audience. What does that make Tyler? Y'all tell me. I'm just asking. I got my own opinion, but I just want to know, what does that make him? You're a male. You're in a relationship with another male who presents as a woman. What does that make you? I'm just asking. I just want to know what y'all think. Okay, so all of you on the same page that I'm on. Okay, if you're reading the comments. So if you're raised conservative, Soul Art New York, I see you over there on Instagram. If you're raised conservative in Utah, Mormon country, and you know that it's staunchly against what's in the religious text to be under the rainbow flag, but for whatever reason, you are under the rainbow flag, then that clearly means you probably ain't as conservative as your family is. Is this fair enough? This is a fair way of looking at things. My question. Give me a yes or no. Is that a fair way of looking at things? IMU said he was a devout white supremacist racist. Yeah, okay. Is that a fair way of looking at things, that if you, for whatever reason, we don't know yet, you are in a relationship with a person who's rainbow, but you are raised conservative, you probably ain't as conservative as you used to. You probably are not going along with the way you were raised. You probably have flipped. You've switched to the other side of the table. Is that a fair way of looking at things? I would say yes. And what people are trying to say, well, his family is conservative, so that means he must be conservative. I say, not so much. Not so much. When I'm on here talking, I get people every day accusing me of being a conservative, accusing me of being MAGA, accusing me of being a Trump supporter. I am none of those. I'm not liberal either. I am not a Democrat. I'm not on any side politically, but I get accused of it every day, especially when I'm talking about anything related to Donald Trump. My parents are hardcore Democrats, vote Democrat. You will have to pull the lever out of their dying hands to get them to vote anything other than Democrats. My parents are just straight up Democrat everything. But I'm not. Again, I'm not on any side, but I'm not a hardcore Democrat. My parents are hardcore left everything. So just because your family is something does not mean you are. Often, as a matter of fact, not always, but often, as a matter of fact, a child will come up. When I say a child, I mean just the next generation after the parents. They don't have to be a kid. Will come up and they will be on the opposite side from where the parents are. Not necessarily because they're just doing it. Sometimes they do it out of sheer perversity, but sometimes they just get a different experience than the parents. Your parents didn't go to college, you went to college. Are you going to get a different life experience than they are? Yes, you are. Your parents went to college, you didn't go to college. Are you going to get a different experience? Yes. Your parents were 9-to-5 workers, you're an entrepreneur. Is it a different experience? Yes, it's a different experience, especially kids coming up these days. If you're a child, and when I say it, you're a child of parents, and you are anywhere between the ages of, let's say, 20 and 50 right now, you've come up in an era that your parents didn't come up in. Your parents did not have access to the internet. They may have never adjusted to using things like social media. You have access to information and people in ways that your parents never did. You could come up with a completely different way of looking at life than what your parents came up with, even though they may have raised you one way. You could be raised Christian and then completely reject all religion by the time you're 25. Is this true? Of course it is. You could be raised with no religion whatsoever, and now you're all the way religious because of who you met in college and who you were dealing with and who you were around and what you were consuming on the internet. So this whole idea of his family was conservative, so that must mean he's conservative, is a nonsense frame. And it's an assumption that's based on what? Based on nothingness. Especially when you got a kid who's going to a college, and in college, anything can happen. We'll just say that. I think that's a fair way of putting it. In college, anything can happen. In college, you meet all different types of people. from all different walks of life. You got all these different professors who are teaching all these different things. And most colleges in the United States of America, you have certain ideologies being taught by professors and certain things that they are not allowed to say or do. And this is something I saw many people saying not many, I saw a few people saying this, but I've been saying this for years. In a university in the United States of America, most universities, of course, you have some hardcore Christian and some very clearly conservative universities in America, but they are the exception. They're not the rule. Most universities in America are much more secular and often more left-leaning, much more left-leaning than they are right-leaning if you were to balance out who works there. Most universities in the United States of America do not have nearly as many open conservative, MAGA supporting, Trump hat wearing faculty as they have openly liberal, Kamala voting, Biden supporting, walking around letting everybody know I'm a liberal people. Is this true or not? Give me a true or false in the comments. What do y'all think? Most universities in the United States of America, it is okay to be openly liberal, but it's not okay to be openly conservative. True or false? You can't be openly. How many universities do you know that are generally left-leaning secular universities, meaning they're not Christian universities. They are not conservative universities, just regular universities, like a regular school. What's a regular school in the United States? University of Pennsylvania, or Harvard, or University of Florida, or Florida State, or LSU, or Texas, or Stanford, or Cal Berkeley, or Nebraska. Any of these schools in Michigan, Illinois, any of these schools in America, just regular schools. They don't really have a leaning. This is a school. Could you be a professor on that university and walk around with a MAGA hat on? Give me a yes or no. Could you be a professor at one of those schools walking around with a MAGA hat on your head? Give me a yes or a no. The question is, could you be a professor walking around at a regular college, meaning it's not a college that says we're conservatives, not a college that says we're Christian, just a regular school. Can you walk around there with a MAGA hat on and be a member of the faculty and have your job next year? Could you get tenure? Could you be a non-tenured professor and get promoted into being a tenured professor when everybody who runs the place, the people who decide whether you get tenure or not, they know that you're a Trump supporter and you walk around with a Trump hat on your head? Could you get tenure working at one of those universities? Give me a yes or a no in the comments. But think about this. If you are a Kamala supporter, if you don't like Donald Trump, if you're a fan of the Stephen Colbert show or Howard Stern show, or you are a Biden voter, or any of those things, you are hard on the left. You are a supporter of abortion, quote unquote, women's rights, all of these things. Could you get a promotion? Could you get a higher job? Could you get hired for the job? Could you get promotion? Could you get a tenured position? Could you go into the school hall of fame, if they even have one, as a hardcore leftist? The answer is, of course you could. The point being here is this. Are there exceptions to this? Maybe. I don't know. I don't work at a university. I'm sure there are some exceptions if we looked around and found some. The point is, it is much easier and much more accepted to be hard on the left at a college or university in America than it is to be hard on the right. Walking around with a MAGA hat on in most of the United States, especially in secular places like colleges and universities, is dangerous. First of all, the people may be talking crazy to you or giving you dirty looks. And secondly, dangerous to your career if you work there. I know some people who work in colleges and universities. And next one I get to talk to, I'm going to ask them this question. How many open liberals are there on your campus? Like, people know that person's a liberal. They know that person's a Kamala voter, a Biden supporter. They support Barack Obama, and everybody knows it, and they work there. How many? They probably couldn't give me a number because there's so many. I say, how many open Trump supporters work at the university? Any of you work at a college? Any of you work at a college that's not conservative and not Christian, and you know there's a Trump supporter that works there, and everybody knows they're a Trump supporter? Anybody knows? If you work at a school that fits that description, put the name of the school in the comments. Put the name of the school in the comments. If any of you work at a school, I mean, you work there. I don't mean you know about it, but you work there yourself. And there's an open Trump supporter, meaning they got the hat, they wear a Trump t-shirt, they are a Trump supporter, and everybody knows they're a Trump supporter, and they work at that school. Does any of you know of a school that has that? Liberty University is a conservative university. Liberty doesn't count. They're a conservative school. I knew people who went to Liberty, and they are conservative as conservative gets. I'm talking just a regular school, a secular college. I went to school at Penn State, school like that. A Penn State, a Cal State, an Oregon State, a Michigan State, Texas, Arizona, ASU, schools like that. Is there any school where that a college, college or university that is not conservative, not Christian? There's somebody's walking around openly a Trump supporter. None of you even name one. I'm talking colleges, folks. I'm not talking K to 12. I'm talking colleges. It's getting a job at a college is I would say, a harder and bigger deal than get a job at a K to 12. The point is, this kid, he went to college and he's dealing with other kids who are in college, and this is how he could be, quote unquote, radicalized into this, because he didn't have to be radicalized. Like, let's say his parents were, let's say he had two dads. That wouldn't be radicalized. This would be the way he normally thought of things. But he came up in a conservative family. And what I've heard, I don't know anything about his family. This is just suspicion. This is actually not even suspicion. This is me just throwing something out there. Okay, that's what this is, what I'm about to say. Is that sometimes, and y'all can tell me if you've seen this before, when someone comes up in a family or a background that is very strong one way, a certain way, and they have a certain way of looking at things in life. I'm not saying this about Tyler's family because I don't know anything about this kid. But if they come up one way, let's say someone comes up, well, let me finish my point first, then I'll give examples. You come up one way, then you may be looking for a way to not go that way. Give me a true or false, any of you understand what I'm saying here, and you've seen it yourself, or you've seen it yourself. You come up in a family that's one way, you may be actively looking for a way to not go that way. Why? Just because you want to assert yourself and go in a different direction. You just want to, it's kind of like you have a kid. I have a child who's 3 years old. And once they get old enough to talk, they start asserting themselves. And their way of asserting themselves is often not necessarily because they have developed the capacity to think so clearly that they come up with their own ideas, but simply because if you're trying to tell them to go left, they're going to go right. And they're going to assert that they want to go right. Not necessarily because going right is the best idea, but because you're trying to tell them to go left. So they want to go right just to show themselves and to show you and to show the world, I can stand on my own too and make my own choices. This is just what happens sometimes when you come up in a certain way, in a certain type of family and a certain type of community. This happens. Again, doesn't mean it happens all the time. All right, some of you right now are conservative. Your family was conservative. Your grandparents were conservative. Your community was conservative, and you too are conservative. You're an adult now, and you have carried on the tradition of being conservative. That doesn't make you wrong. All right, sometimes people just continue the lineage, let's just say, for lack of a better term. But also sometimes somebody goes the exact opposite direction to rebel against the way they came up. I knew people who came up hardcore, staunch Christian, and they start doing stuff that damn sure was not Christian. As soon as they got the freedom to do it, they started doing stuff that wasn't Christian. Why? Because they might have been looking from they were on the inside looking out like, damn, what is everybody else doing? I want to go try that. As soon as they got the chance, they went and tried it. It looks like, given what we've heard so far about the alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk, that he came up in a staunch conservative environment. Again, he's in Utah, so not like he was exposed to a whole lot of other stuff. But he's 22, which means he was born in what? Let's just say 2023 or 22 or 24. 2003 or 4. And he's basically grown up with the internet. So by the time he was 10 years old, we're talking 2013, 14. The internet was pretty strong by that point. He's grown up on the internet, obviously pretty deft at using the internet. He's on Discord talking at 22 years of age, knows how to shoot. Obviously, his family taught him that. Looks like he just saw some other alternatives. Looks like his mind was open to other alternatives. And here we go. Here he ends up over here. I'm saying all this to say that there were a lot of people who were Charlie Kirk detractors after he got shot saying, well, look, the shooter was all these conservative things. So it's conservative against conservative violence. Not so fast. That's not what this was. First of all, Tyler, as I already explained, had a partner who was a man posing as a woman. And all of you already answered what that makes him. All right. That ain't conservative. All right. I don't know much about the Mormon religion, but I don't think that's part of the Mormon religion. Y'all tell me. Is that the Church of Latter-day Saints? Is that accepted? Any of you? Somebody answer. I need an answer. Give me a yes or no. Is that accepted in the Mormon culture, the Mormon religion? Is it accepted that you could be a man in a relationship with a man who is posing as a woman? I didn't think so. Okay, I didn't think so. I know some people from Utah. Actually, I know a few people from Utah. I know that ain't the thing. And they all kind of fit the same. They all kind of fit into the same vertical. And ain't that. All right. Now how he ends up there, again, college. Again, I don't even know who his professors are, what classes he was taking, but he's on Discord. You can anything on Discord. He's probably on other apps. So this whole concept, Nancy Mace, what she said, looks like she was right. People got to give Nancy Mace. So Nancy Mace said that, and people were saying, well, how does Nancy Mace know? She doesn't know yet. Then it came out that he was looked like a heterosexual white conservative male, and people say, oh, Nancy Mace, you're wrong. Now we got more information. So now people got to go back and apologize to Nancy Mace. Some of y'all owe Nancy Mace an apology. Because she said the person was either trans or trans supporting. That's what she said. And trans supporting sounds like a supporter. Sounds like a supporter to me. Is Nancy Mace owed an apology? Looks like it to me. So some say that certain details are being amplified selectively. I say, of course they are. I just amplified one right there. Yes, details get amplified selectively when you become a infamous figure. Welcome to the internet and the world that we live in now. When you become an infamous figure, especially on the internet, details about you get selectively amplified. In other words, people pick facts out of your situation, or don't even have to be facts, suspicions, allegations out of your situation, and they use just the ones that they want to use to either try to make you look good or try to make you look bad. You want to see an example? Look at our president. People handpick things about him to try to make him look good or try to make him look bad. Is this true? Of course it is. Does anybody talk about him in the full context of everything that he's about? No, nobody does. People talk about him by picking and choosing the pieces that make sense and get people excited. Why? Because the job of the media is to keep your attention. Speaking of that, one more point here. Then I'm going to take a quick restroom break, and then we're going to get to the comments. There's a guy named Matthew Dowd. Y'all hear about this guy? Matthew Dowd, they got fired from, where was he working at? Was it MSNBC? Let me see. Matthew Dowd. Did y'all hear about Matthew Dowd, this guy who got fired from, MSNBC? So MSNBC fires Matthew Dowd for his comments about Charlie Kirk. And I'm trying to find a post. I see Larry Elder says something about him. But I'm trying to find somebody who was supporting him. So Matthew Dowd, let's see exactly what he said here. Let me hear it.
Terminated within 24 hours. You can't say Charlie deserved to die. Just can't say that. And I hope he loses his job. It's dangerous, Greg. That's
this is somebody on Fox. I'm trying to find the actual comment of what Matthew Dowd says. There's been so much conversation about him since it happened that I can't find it. But people are saying that what he said. All right, so here's what MSNBC PR said. The president of MSNBC, Rebecca Cutler. So this guy named Matthew Dowd came on TV and he said, paraphrasing, that Charlie Kirk deserved to die because he had divisive rhetoric. That's basically, long story short. So this guy, Matthew Dowd, who is this guy right here, he got fired. This guy got fired. So he got fired for saying that. Now, MSNBC president says, during our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. Well, this statement is 90% correct. She got 10% of it wrong. 10% she got wrong is where she said there is no place for violence in America. There is place for violence in America. That's the reason why we had a Second Amendment. It's the reason why we have police. The reason why we have police is because if someone was physically trying to attack you and you call the cops, you want the cops to use violence to get that attacker off of you. There is a place for violence. So all of you got to be careful with this. There is no place or no time. There's never a need for violence. There is a need for violence. Okay? Violence protects safety. Violence protects peace. The reason why we have a peaceful country is because every time you think about doing some violence to somebody, you have to think twice about whether or not they might be violent back to you, and their violence could beat your violence. So there is a place for violence in America, just to be clear. That's the reason, again, we have police. Any of you ever seen a cop before? Or what do they have on their left hip and their right hip? All right, guns. All right, why do they have guns? because those guns are deterrents to keep you from doing something stupid and to keep criminals from doing something stupid to you. So there is a place for violence. We have the military for a reason, because that military is willing to use violence to defend us or to go and attack anybody else. That was the reason people learn how to fight, and the reason why people had their own guns, to protect yourself using violence if necessary from someone violating your freedom and your rights. So there is a place for violence in America. So again, this is a boilerplate statement, but there is a place for violence, just to be clear, just to make sure I'm on the record for that. So Matthew Dowd said MSNBC fired Matthew Dowd, who pushed hate speech, adding the hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. So that's what he said. All right, here's what he said. Let me say it again. Matthew Dowd said regarding Charlie Kirk, hateful thoughts. So he's, let me just read the statement. Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. Okay, this is a nonsense frame by Mr. Dowd. Now, I'm going to tell you why he got fired. I'm going to explain exactly why he got fired. And I don't even work at MSNBC. All right, y'all want to hear this explanation? Because I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. First, I'm going to tell you why this is a dumb thing for Matthew Dowd to say. This itself is not necessarily a fireable offense, just this quote alone. But I still 100% understand why he got fired. So I'm going to explain both to you. Let me break this down for you. First of all, let me tell you why what he said is stupid. He said hateful thoughts lead to hateful words to lead to hateful actions. First of all, you cannot ascribe thoughts to another person. That's impossible. No one can tell another person what they're thinking, and no one can assert what another person is thinking, even if that person is not present. I can't say you think ABC. All right, that's not a thing. I don't know what another person thinks. I can judge your words. I can talk about your words. I can judge your actions. I cannot judge your thoughts because I can't read your thoughts. There's no human on the planet who has the capability of reading the thoughts of another person. Only thing you can go off of, the lowest common denominator you can go off of is what somebody says out their mouth. And then on top of that, you go off of what they do. More importantly is what they do, not what they say, because people can say anything. If you ever had somebody lie to you, okay. So we all know that words are a dime a dozen and talk is cheap. So they're saying hateful thoughts lead to hateful. So this was done by Matthew Dowd to even say this. And I get it. If you're sitting on TV every day and you got to fill 2-3 hours, who knows what type of show he was on, you got to fill 3 hours of airtime with stuff. You end up saying something stupid. If I was on TV for 3 hours a day, I might end up saying something stupid too. Actually, no, it's not true. I can't even give myself that type of negative possibility because I do this for like 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and I don't say stupid stuff. So, but I also don't have a boss. So when you work for a company and you got to kind of say things along a certain line, then you might end up saying something dumb because you run out of useful stuff to say. So eventually you say something stupid, which is what Matthew Dowd said here. Again, this is not the reason why he got fired. Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words. So he's saying whatever Charlie Kirk said was hateful. Nothing Charlie Kirk said was hateful. Charlie Kirk was conservative, which meant he was against liberalism. Charlie Kirk was, what's the word I'm looking for? He was a Christian, which meant he was going off Christian principles, which means he was not a fan of LGBTQ, the rainbow flag. He has a right to that. First Amendment protects his right to that. Charlie Kirk was about men being the head and a woman being a helpmeet to a woman. A man, and a woman submitting to a man. He was about that. Was made the feminists not like him. So his Christianity made the secular and LGBTQ people not like him. His conservatism made the liberals not like him. So you see, there's a lot of reasons why a lot of people didn't like this guy. And I understand. But it's not because he said anything that was hateful. All he said was, here's where I'm standing. And if anything, this is especially true of the men in the room, and I would think the women would concur, but I'm especially talking to the men who are listening to me right now, that if you're a man and you have testicles, you should stand on something. There should be some things that you're standing on. And when I say standing on, what I mean is, this is what I'm about. I am absolutely not bending on this. And this is where I stand on this subject. And if you disagree with that, you have a right to disagree, but you're not pushing me off my square. If you're truly a man, there should be some things in life and upon which you can make that statement. The challenge that we have in the world today, especially in Western society, and the reason why I say that we got a lot of feminine men out here these days. I did a 5-part series on my podcast about 6 months ago, called probably 8 months ago, about how men need to stop being pussies. One of the things that I emphasized there was that a lot of men have no principles. Charlie Kirk was clear on his principles. His principles was, I'm a Christian. His principles were, I'm conservative. His principles were, a man is the head of the household and a woman submits to and follows the man. Again, I'm not telling you must agree with Charlie Kirk's position. I'm telling you that Charlie Kirk had a position. That's my point. Now, if you're a man listening to this, do you have a position on anything? Or do you just pick your position based on what the temperature is of the room? So if you're in a room with a bunch of liberals, you're a liberal. You're with conservatives, you're a conservative. You're with the secular people, you're secular. You're with some religious people, you're religious. You have no principles. That's not being a man. A man has clear principles. This is what I'm about. This is where I stand, and I'm not moving off the square. And if that means you don't like me, or you disagree with me, or you're going to go against me, or you're going to vote against me, or you think I'm a bad person, you got a right to that. First Amendment protects your right to that. But I'm not stepping off my square. Charlie Kirk had a square. And if you ask me, and you are asking me, by listening to this, you're asking me, a lot of people didn't like Charlie Kirk simply because he had principles. That's why they didn't like him, because he had principles. One of the reasons why Western society is collapsing, I did a whole series on this on my podcast, why Western society is collapsing. Let me pull up these episodes because I want y'all to understand that I got receipts here. Okay, I provide receipts. When I tell y'all I did things, I provide receipts. I'm not just talking. I'm not just on here talking shit. I'm telling you that I actually did this. So that series where I said men stop being pussies was episode number 3224 through 3228. I literally had to do a 5-part series on it because there's so much of it going on that I couldn't do it in one episode. 5 parts. My podcast is called Work on Your Game. It's called Work on Your Game. Let me pull it up so I can see what the artwork looks like so y'all can easily find it on your favorite app. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, podcast on Apple or Spotify, let me pull up my own show so y'all can see it. It looks just like this. You see, that's me. It's called Work on Your Game. Comes out every single day. It is free on Apple or Spotify. Today's episode is number 3,410. No, excuse me, 3,411. All right, 3,411. So when I say receipts, okay, I mean receipts. So I told y'all that in episode number 3224. Then I did a series on why Western society is collapsing. That was a 4-part series. Episode number 3262, why Western society is collapsing. One reason why Western society is collapsing is because men are not standing on principle. This has nothing to do with women. It's not because of feminism. The only reason feminism exists is because men didn't stand on their square and beat back feminism. Feminism can only exist if men support it. If men didn't support feminism, there'd be no feminism. It'll be impossible for it to exist. Because the men would have said, no, we're not doing that. No, we're not going to sit there and pretend that a woman is equal to a man. A woman can do anything a man can do. We're not going along with that. No. If men would have just said no, it'd be over. Feminism would have ended before it started. All right, you want to talk about reproductive freedom? Okay, there would have been no reproducing of feminism had men just stood on that. But because there are so many men, vaginal men out there these days, we got feminism. And the reason Western society is collapsing is because of those men. Men without principles, not because of Charlie Kirk's, but because of men who are opposite of Charlie Kirk, who have no principles. They'll go along with anything that's popular, anything that will get them some attention from women because maybe they otherwise couldn't get it, anything that will allow them to keep their jobs, anything that will allow them to be accepted by the group. And if you go to some college or university, what's going to get you accepted by the group? Going along with the secular ideas. Most colleges are more secular and more liberal leaning. So if you go to most colleges in America, the thing that's going to get you accepted is not being a Charlie Kirk. You're a Charlie Kirk in most colleges in America, you're going to be a pariah. If you go to most colleges, what's going to get you accepted is being more like Mr. Tyler, the alleged shooter. Why? Because it's do what thou wilt. Right? Whatever's working, whatever's popular. What's popular right now? Okay, a boy can become a girl. Okay, I'll go along with that. What's popular right now? A woman can do everything a man can do. Okay, let's go along with that. All right. As long as you go along with whatever everybody else is going along with, that makes you popular. The challenge is being popular does not necessarily mean that you have substance. There's a difference. You can be popular and have substance. You could have substance and be a nobody, and you can be popular and have no substance. All three are possible. And Charlie Kirk had principles. Now, I told you what his principles were. Christianity has made a whole bunch of people not like him. A man is the head and a woman submits to the man. A lot of people don't like that. And conservatism. A lot of people don't like that. And you put all three together in one person, now it all makes sense. Does it not? And, let me add on one more thing. Because a lot of people have all three of those. One more thing, he said it out loud. Those are 4 things. That's why he's dead. I'm not saying everybody who does that is going to die. What I'm saying is that those 4 combined is a combustible conversation. That's a combustible combination, excuse me. Christian, masculine, patriarchal. Let's call it this. Patriarchal is a better word, not masculine. All right. Christian, patriarchal, conservative, MAGA to boot, and willing to say it out loud and walk around with his head up so that you knew it was him who said it. This is how it ends up at the extreme. And the reason why I was supposed to be talking about Matthew Dowd. Okay, so let's get back to Matthew Dowd. That's the guy that got fired. Now, Matthew Dowd got fired from MSNBC. Did he get fired because he said that? No, because people on MSNBC and NBC and not necessarily Fox, but what's the other left-leaning platforms? CNN, they say stuff like this every day, right? Don't people say that? Somebody says something like that 100 times a day on these platforms. So why did he get fired? Here's why he got fired, for those of you who don't know. After Trump won in 2024, all the mainstream media networks that lean to the left said, okay, we've been saying all this negative, crazy stuff about Trump for the last 10 years. And we figured if we just went super hard on him all the way up through 2024, he would lose the Biden/Kamala. He'd be done. And we would declare victory and we could just keep trashing the idea of Trump. And then we'll just move on to bashing the next political person from the right. That was their plan. Challenge is the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. So Donald Trump wins in 2024. When Donald Trump won in November of 2024, all the left-leaning TV networks, they said, we miscalculated here. We have a problem. We have to do something different. They said, we have to start reporting a little bit more down the middle. Now, is CNN down the middle? No. Is MSNBC down the middle? No. Is The View down the middle? No. They said we got to look like we're trying to go more down the middle. So here's what happened. They sent a message from on high. Those are the bosses, the check writers. They sent the message down to the lower level folks. Those are the people you see on TV. All right, they are just workers. Yes, you may see them as stars because they're on TV, but they're workers. They sent a message to the workers, and they said, okay, you got to tone it down. You got to tone down the anti-Trump. You got to tone down the anti-conservative. You got to tone down the anti-MAGA. And you got to at least look like you're trying to be objective. Now, that came with a wink and a smile. We know you're not completely objective. We know you can't be completely objective working for us. But you're the on-air talent. All right, you're supposed to be talented, right? Okay, use your talent and look like you're trying to be objective. That's what they got told after November 5th, 2024. Everybody following the story here. They told them that. So tone it down. Yeah, be anti-Trump, but tone it down. All right, with a wink and a smile. Matthew Dowd saying this went against the grain of what the bosses told him to do. Now, why do they care? That's the question. Why do they care? All right, because again, people say this 100 times a day on TV. So why is that one getting fired for saying that? So people say this all the time. Reason he got fired is because, first of all, everybody's listening to them after the Charlie Kirk shooting. Charlie Kirk shooting had a bunch of people who don't watch TV watching TV. A bunch of people who don't normally turn on the news turned on the news when Charlie Kirk got shot. So they were listening to MSNBC. Now, had Matthew Dowd said something like this 3 months ago on a random Thursday, nobody would have gave a damn because nobody was watching MSNBC except their hardcore listeners who would have been happy to hear it. But when people turned on TV that day, a serious Thursday, where everybody wants to know what the news has to say, and he says that gave a black eye to MSNBC. How so? Because the bosses are like, they're going to their investors and the people above them and saying, hey, look at us. We're moving ourselves back to the middle. We've been so far on the left. Well, my left will be over here. We've been so far on the left. Look at us. We're moving a little bit back to the middle. You see, look at what we've been doing for the election was in November. So what are we talking? September, 9 months, 11 months. So for the last 11 months, look what we've been doing, everybody. See how we're moving a little bit back to the middle? Let's see if we can get some of those conservative people to trust us again, turn on our network again, and actually listen to us again. We might be able to pull it off if we get all our on-air talent to shift a little bit back to the middle. And they were starting to work on it for the last 11 months. This idiot comes on TV and says this stupid shit. Let me see again what he said. Now I just lost it. Here it is. Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. In other words, what Mr. Dowd is indirectly saying is that the hateful actions that happened to Charlie Kirk were okay because Charlie Kirk had hateful thoughts. That's what Matthew Dowd said without saying it directly. And the bosses at MSNBC said, who is this idiot and why the hell did he say that? Now, he just took our last 11 months of work and undid it with one statement. That's why he got fired. Everybody get it? And that's why he got fired. And someone said, Chase Freedom said they actually moved further left since Trump won. You're right. They did. And I've said this many times. I thought that after Trump won, they would actually seriously make a serious effort to get back to the middle. They didn't make a serious effort. They made a half-hearted effort to go back to the middle. You ever seen that meme on, maybe you probably saw it, y'all watch any video platforms on social media. That meme where it's the guy doing security where they're supposed to do the pat down is like this old guy and people walk up and he just goes like this and he doesn't actually touch you. He goes like that and just people just keep walking through. You ever see that meme? That's MSNBC and CNN and CBS all claiming to be more to the middle. You ever seen that meme? That's them. Like this. This, yeah, you walk by. This, yeah, you go. This is the pat down. All right, so if you had a gun, you easily got in. All right, that's them. That's them over the last 11 months. They have continued to go hard bashing Trump. They triple down on bashing Trump, even though, again, what is the purpose of bashing Trump? He's not running for election anymore. It doesn't logically make sense, but they keep doing it. This dude doing it it's actually kind of unfair to Matthew Dowd, actually. I'm going to defend Matthew Dowd. Matthew Dowd, I'm defending you. I'm defending Matthew Dowd. All right, y'all bookmark this. All right, clip this out and put it online. I'm defending him. Why? Because everybody else is doing the same thing he's doing. He just did it on the wrong day, at the wrong time, on the wrong point. This phrase alone is not that crazy. Hey, he said this exact thing about Donald Trump, he wouldn't have got fired. On some random Tuesday, wouldn't have got fired. Had he said this about Elon Musk in February, he would not have gotten fired. Had he said this about Charlie Kirk any other day of the year, he would not have gotten fired. Had anybody else said this about anybody else in politics on any other day this year, because nobody else hasn't been any other like political deaths, at least not for the right, on the political right, he wouldn't have got fired. Any other day of the year, any other person or any other subject, he would not have gotten fired. Only reason he got fired because he said the wrong thing at the wrong time on the wrong day about the wrong person. That's why he got fired. This is what happens when you work for somebody else. They can pick and choose when to enforce their rules. Sorry, Matthew. Sorry. Wrong day. All right, wrong day for you to have said this. You should have said it the day before. You should have waited till he could have said it today. He'd probably be all right. No, not today. It's still a little bit too hot. He just said it on the wrong day. That's why he got fired. Now, MSNBC is like, damn. Now he just made us look bad because we just had 200,000 people who normally don't listen to us because they were told that we lean left, that we hate Trump, and anything Trump does, we're going to make it look terrible. That's what they heard about us, so they decided to never listen to us. But since Charlie Kirk got shot, they turned us on to see what we had to say, and they turned it on, and this mofo said this. He got to go. That's why he got fired. Now, 6 months from now, he might get hired back. All right, so don't get mad. Now, if you're on the right, all right, don't get excited because he got fired. They might hire him back. It might be a while. He might have to go, live off the money he saved for about 6 to 9 months, but he might be back. Right, don't count it out. Then they bring back the dude who got caught jacking off on camera. What was that guy's name? That wasn't MSNBC. What was that CNN? What was that guy's name? They got caught on camera. What was his name? Anybody know who I'm talking about? What was that guy? What was his name? I don't want to say the wrong name and expose the wrong person. What was that dude's name that got caught? No, it wasn't Acosta. No, if it was Acosta, I would have remembered. What was his name? The guy that got caught. Somebody knows his name. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? Was it Rubin? I thought, or is it Tubin? Yeah, Tubin. Didn't they bring him back? Didn't he get hired back? Did they hire him or did they never fire him in the first place? Maybe that's what happened. Did he get fired or not fired? So he got fired and they brought him back, right? So here it is. Jeffrey Toobin was fired from the New Yorker in November 2020 after he exposed himself during the Zoom meeting. So he had been suspended prior to his termination and later parted ways with CNN as well. Oh, so he had 2 jobs. He got fired from both of them. So he exposed himself during the Zoom meeting. And he thought his camera was off. So he didn't even say he did it by accident. He just thought the camera was off. So stupid mistake. Yes, it was. He got suspended. He got fired on November 11th. He got placed on leave after the incident. But then he brought him back in June 2021. So 6 months, they brought him back. Then in August of 2022, he got fired from CNN. His departure was described as a mutual agreement. There's no such thing as a mutual agreement, folks. He got fired. And they just want to allow him to save face. So he got suspended from CNN for 6 months. And then they brought him back in 2021. So Matthew Dowd might be back. All right, so Matthew, as long as you had 6 months, a 6 month emergency fund, you'll be all right. You'll be back on TV in no time. So that's what happened here. All that said, folks, I need to take a quick restroom break. Then we'll get to the comments. We will do overtime today because I did a lot of talking after this Charlie Kirk situation. Let me take a quick restroom break. This will take 90 seconds, and then we're going to get back and we're going to get to the comments. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back in 90 seconds, and we're going to get to our favorite sounds. Let me just give you our preview, something to hold you over before we get to it. We'll be hearing sounds like...
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
And sounds like...
Strawberry cheesecake.
I'll be right back. I'm back. All right, let's get into the comments. Let's see what everybody got here. I saw a couple comments on Instagram. Then we'll get over to the good folks on TikTok. Ketchup77, good morning. So Art said, she's such a strong girl. I couldn't imagine how I would handle that tragedy if I was in her position. Yes, just the fact that she could even get on camera is kind of crazy. She just lost her husband. And they got a young family, young kids. So Art, you're correct. He's gay. Belfort said, I'm convinced that the word racism has been perverted and monetized to the point that even black people can't tell you what racism is. Asking someone what is racism is like asking a liberal what is a woman. Well, nowadays people can pull it up on the chat GPT. Belfort, that's the only challenge. You got to catch them in person. So Art said, now if you want to keep your job, that's right. Belfort says, funny you say that. I saw this in real time when it came to Angel Reese, Kate, and Clark debate. I had director of HR say that people are not rooting for Reese. They're racist and people love to take. True story. I'm sure it's true. I believe you. Brandon said, at least Charlie died standing on something. Yes, he did. He did. And because he stood on something. Not only while, but because he stood on something. So TikTok, I'm picking it up from where I could pick it up from. I can't see all the older comments, but let's see. Coach Hikes said, Charlie Kirk forced people, especially the younger generations, to think. Yes, those who are willing to listen to him, he did. Michael 1967, thanks for the follow. Texas DDD, good morning. Kim, thanks for the follow. Bad Mama Jamma said, you are a lost soul.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Unapologetically Connecticut said, tell that to Rosa Parks.
Emotional, damn it.
Tell what to Rosa Parks? What are you talking about? Jonathan Scroggins and Joseph ATL, thanks for the follow. Lexi said, religion and politics go together. I think they used to. I don't think always these days. Sometimes still, but not always. Sammy Girl, thanks for the follow. Lexi, thanks for the share. Mike.991, I saw your comment there. TGAT89, thanks for the follow. Anne Marie said, not everyone is free to give their opinion without being physically hurt. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Not everyone is free to give their opinion without being physically hurt. Anne Marie, give me an example. What are you referring to? You said not everyone. Who could get physically hurt for giving an opinion, and in what context are you referring to here? Unapologetically Canadian said, secular and liberal do not go hand in hand. Well, maybe not 100% of the time, but they very much do a whole bunch of the times. Unapologetically Canadian, let me ask you this question. If we were to take the liberals on one side, conservatives on another side, which side is secular? If one of them had to be secular, which one is it? I think everyone would answer is the liberals. So when I say that, that's what I mean. Does it mean every single liberal is secular? No. Are there liberals who are staunch religious followers? I'm pretty sure there are. But if we had to take one group, the liberals and conservatives, who's more secular? The answer is clearly the liberals. That's not even up for debate. Lexi said, I want my elected officials that are supposed to protect us to be a God-fearing individual. Fair enough, Lexi. I don't think they're supposed to protect you, though. The cops are supposed to protect you, not the elected officials. Cameron Moon, thanks for the follow. Joe said, that's not making no sense what you saying. Let me read that again. Joe said, that's not making no sense what you saying.
My disappointment is immeasurable. And my day is ruined.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Jess Lily, thanks for the share. Javik, thanks for the follow. Indiana Homegirl said, I was fed feminism back in the 80s and I bought into it. However, I had enough logic to debunk it. Well, I'm glad you did.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Lexi said, I have substance and I'm a nobody. Fair enough. Nana Cat said, we the people aren't going to go along with mental illness. Well, the challenge of mental illness is that it's a very flexible term. Carlos said, no more just going along with the craziness. Fair enough. Marquis said, nah, you being disingenuous. Speak about the negative hate he spewed. Marquis, what negative hate did he spew? Put it out there.
Emotional, damn it.
Thanks for the mute. So what moderators, what y'all can do is somebody's talking crazy in here, y'all can just mute them for this live and see if they come back the next day talking regular. Now, sometimes they might need to get blocked, but if you just mute them for one day, that's usually enough to calm people down. It's like putting a second grader on timeout. All right, they'll calm down, then they'll relax. Calm down for one day. Robin Abubuela says CK was essentially effective. Yes, he was very effective. That's the reason why what happened. Country Fried said, I'm very successful. Yes. Joe said, that's your belief. Not everyone. That's the problem. Well, most of what I say here, Joe, is my belief. I give you the facts and I give you my theories and opinions on those. So, yes, it is my belief. Hayden Woollever said, no, not those four things. He spoke hate and racism. Such as what? Tell me what he said.
Emotional, damn it.
Sherry B. Good morning. Thank you. V. Master Gina said, no, look, another black man with a tribalistic idea that you should be killed for your words while. Did I say that? I didn't say that. Marquis said, you're being too nice about that dude. He spewed hate. Marquis already asked you. What did he say? You said the same thing twice without actually giving context. Lexi said, I'm so proud of my Christian community. Fair enough. I'm glad that you're proud of it. And I appreciate when people have some principles that they stand on, male or female. Mirtha, thanks for the follow. Hayden says, show proof. Look at what he said. Well, what he said. Most human beings speak tens of thousands of words, and especially someone like Charlie Kirk. He probably spoke tens of thousands of words every day. So you can pick and choose things that he said. I'm telling you what he was standing on, which I'll say again. He was a Christian. He was patriarchal. He was conservative, and he was willing to say those things out loud. Those are the things that put him in the crosshairs of people who disagree with any one of those three things. B. Sid Hage, I can't pronounce your name, so he was not racist at all. Racism is a way of thinking. So, I mean, to accuse somebody of being racist is, again, it becomes a tricky conversation because there are like 5 definitions of racism. The most common definition is racism is a way of thinking. K-Red said he truly won in 2020. Thanks for the follow. Well, yeah, a lot of people believe that 2020 will always be a question mark as far as I'm concerned. Chase Freedom, thanks for the follow. Proud Floridian, thank you for the follow. Tammy, thanks for the share. Cheryl's Mally, for Karen, thank you for the follows. Robin Abuela said, evil hates to be proved wrong because they become vehemently wicked to cope with their insanity, ego. Fair enough. Matt Titan, Don Rob, Monica B, thank you for the follows. Nana said the devil is a Democrat. So he said they actually moved further left since Trump won. Fair enough. Hayden said he debated college students who aren't prepared at Cameron's level. He got destroyed. Well, according to who? Here's the problem with the debate culture that we have here today is that when you hear somebody that you like, you say that they won the debate. And if you hear somebody that you don't like, you say that they lost the debate. So who actually won, we don't know. Your fans are going to say that you won, and your detractors are going to say that you lost. So how do we actually know who won? Clay Loeb, thanks for the follow. Lemon Drop, thank you for the follow. Gina Marie said that makes sense for me. Thank you. Anne Marie Bell, good morning. Coco and Pepper said he also said it might have been a Kirk supporter in the crowd shooting. Who said that? Rob Dagawang, thank you for the follow. Billy Dunaway, thanks for the follow. Rashad Gunn said Brian Kilmeade said on Fox News. No, I was talking about Matthew Dowd, not Brian Kilmeade. East Coast Southwest said it's not that they actually think his statement was egregious. It's just all about optics. Yes, that's the game. That is the game. And D. Harmon said Folks is the what? What is that thing that you said? I don't even know how to pronounce that you put in there. Alan, thanks for the follow. User said, true that men need to stand for something. Yes, they do. And when men stand for something, we get a strong society. When you got a bunch of men who are very fluid in more ways than one, then you get a weak society. And when you got a bunch of men who are fluid and don't stand for anything, then women look at it and say, well, okay, well, these men ain't doing anything. I guess we got to take over. And then you get feminism. That's where it comes from. So it's never the women's fault. Debbie Stumblewood said, I thought they moved back to the middle two, about ready to give up. Well, maybe after Trump is no longer president, they might have no choice. Darcy, thanks for the follow. Melissa said, what did he say? You talking about Matthew Dowd? Matthew Dowd said, he said, hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, will then lead to hateful actions, talking about Charlie Kirk. Again, not even that crazy what he said. It's just he said it at the wrong time on the wrong day. Ryan said, he said it on the day he was assassinated, super unprofessional. Yes, exactly. That's why he got fired. Alan said he was spitting facts with evidence behind it. No, Alan, you got to come with something better than that.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Anytime somebody says something that any of us agree with and say that they're spitting facts, that doesn't mean anything because, first of all, a fact can be pulled out of context. So just because you said something that is a fact does not mean it's all of the facts. And the truth means all of the facts in full context. And you can put evidence behind a fact. That doesn't mean it's the entire story. I can tell you that for the last 2 weeks here in South Florida, we have gotten rain damn near every day. So I could say, hey, Miami's a rainy place. I have evidence to prove it. Look at the rain that's happened in the last 2 weeks. Now, is Miami really a rainy place? No, it's not. But I have facts and evidence that can say it. So it's very easy to pull things out of context to try to paint one picture and then ignore other facts that would completely disconfirm your position. So to say that hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, first of all, you would need to know what another person is thinking. So, Alan, it's impossible to spit a fact of what another person is thinking because you can't read another person's mind. So on that alone, you are incorrect.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Jeannie Ryder Davis said, people should not be happy if anyone dies. These are sick people. Well, not anyone, Jeannie. I get the direction of what you're saying. Now, if somebody is doing something to hurt other people, for example, when bin Laden got caught, America celebrated. That celebration I'm okay with. Why? Because he took credit and was credited for doing something that hurt a lot of people on purpose. So him dying is actually okay to celebrate. Now, celebrating the death of someone just because you didn't like what they said, that's a whole different thing. So I get what you're saying, Jeannie. Jessica White said, he works for the billionaire. You got to go by the billionaire playbook like everyone else. Well, it depends on which billionaire. Not every billionaire has the same ideas. KB said that news guy is a disgrace. Well, that's why he got fired, but he might be back in 6 months. H. Turo said, was it Dowd or someone on that show that said it could have been a supporter? No, it was Dowd. He said it. That's why he got fired. KB said, oh, yeah, CNN. Denise said, the way you just explained that made my day. Well, I'm glad to hear it. La Lemons, thanks for the follow. Scott and Mitch said Acosta. Yeah, Jeff Tubin. That's the guy who got caught jacking on a Zoom call. And he got fired. He got suspended. He came back. Yeah, he came back. But he got fired from one platform. He got suspended from another one, came back. Then he got officially fired later. So he got fired like 3 years ago. But he probably has a podcast or something now. What's he doing now? He probably got a podcast. Busted Boots, thanks for the follow. Joe said, so freedom of speech is only when it fits you. Yes. Did you not know that? Yes. That's how freedom of speech works. You have freedom of speech as long as you are not beholden any other way to another person. It's kind of like if you're a kid living at home with your parents, you're 8 years old. Technically, you have freedom of speech, but if you say the wrong thing, you might get smacked upside your head by your mom or your dad. So technically, you got freedom of speech, but you're not free from the consequences of your speech. And that's what happened with Matthew Dowd. He was free to say what he said. He didn't go to jail. He just got fired. All right, so he still has freedom of speech. He can say it if he wants to. Trisha, I went overtime today. Usually I go till 10 o'clock. I'm going overtime today because I talked for like an hour and 45 minutes. So I'm going overtime for the comments. But you got a doctor's appointment. Go to your doctor's appointment. You can catch the replay. This is what will be on my YouTube channel. Replays to all these lives are always on my YouTube. The link to my YouTube is in my profile. By the way, in case y'all didn't know. King Works over on Instagram said, do you think it's worth it to stand for what you believe in, even if people disagree and don't like or respect you for it, and why? Hell yeah, of course. If you believe in something, you stand on it. That is not even about it being right or wrong, King Works. It's about, especially if you're, so I got a warning. I got a warning on TikTok. Hold on, King Works. I'm going to come back to your question in a second. I got a warning on TikTok said, this may be result in gifting suspension, reason reproduce content. I didn't do no reproduce content. What is TikTok? What the hell are you talking about? So every once in a while, TikTok gives me one of these AI warnings based on nothing. I didn't say anything about a gift, TikTok. What are you talking about? I should be able to fight that. They gave me a warning. I didn't do anything. Anyway. King Works, you're a male, correct? All right. If you're a male, you must have principles. Women need to have principles too, but I'm a man, so I'm speaking from the male perspective. And societies are built, protected, and advanced by men, not by females. And if you're a man, you need to have solid principles upon which you stand, period. It doesn't matter where you stand, just have principles. Even if somebody is like a liberal and a conservative can have respect, a healthy respect for each other, even if they disagree on damn near everything, if both of them are solid in where they stand and why they stand there. The challenge that I've seen in society is that a lot of men have zero principles and they won't stand on anything. So they just go along with whatever is popular. The problem is whatever is popular is always changing. So you have this fluid terrain upon which everybody is standing. And everybody knows the metaphor of building a house on sand. You build a house on sand, now the sand can be very easily eroded by the waves of the ocean. You build a house on rock, it doesn't get knocked down. So a lot of our society right now, especially when it comes to men, have houses built on sand. And that's the problem. We need houses built on rock. And houses are built on rock by men. Our houses need to be built on rock. What are your principles? What are you about? And where do you stand on certain things? Every man needs to have certain things upon which you do not budge, no matter what everybody else, quote unquote, everybody else is saying. A man must have a code. And if a man does not have a code of principles upon which you stand, and how do you even call yourself a man? That's the way I look at it. And it doesn't even matter what your principles are as long as you have some. Actually, it does matter, but the starting point is have some principles. Then we can work on what they actually are. Belfer said, if you don't have freedom of speech without freedom of consequence, isn't it the same thing as not having freedom of speech in the first place? What's the difference? No, it is not the same thing. Belfer, you have freedom of speech to say what you want to say. Freedom of consequence, it depends on who has the power to levy a consequence against you. So, for example, Belford, this is a good question. When I say things like, I can say whatever I want on here. I can criticize the left. I can criticize the right. And the reason I often say that, and I'll often follow that up by saying something like, I don't have a boss. I don't work for anybody, which means I can say whatever I want. And there's not really anything anybody can do to me. Technically, somebody could, I don't know. Somebody could decide to unfollow me on social media. Somebody could say, I don't want to buy any of your books or programs. TikTok could suspend me for the 16th time in the last year. Any of those things technically could happen. But does it really going to have any tangible effect on me? The answer is no, it's not. Now, Matthew Dowd, had he said the same thing that he said in a live stream on YouTube or TikTok, nothing would have happened to him. Why? Because they couldn't have did anything to him. I could say it on here, nothing's going to happen to me because they can't do anything to me. But if I said that on CNN, I might get fired. Why? Because I got a boss at CNN. So the whole concept of consequences, Belfort, it depends on who has the power to levy a consequence against you. The same way that when you were 12 years old, your parents could give you a consequence for saying something that they didn't like you saying. But when you're 32 years old, your parents don't have the same power. So consequences, who has the power to give consequences to you changes depending on your circumstance and your situation. And this is why when you have ultimate power, there's not really anybody who could tell you what to do. Which is why one thing that I often emphasize, especially when I'm talking to my audience of professionals, business professionals, and entrepreneurs, is that one benefit of being an entrepreneur is that you don't have anybody who can tell you what to do or tell you what to say, or they can't do anything to you, even if they don't like what you say. The trade-off of that is that you have to take on all the risk of running an operation and not having a guaranteed paycheck coming in, for example. So hopefully that answers your question. Ann said, I think if you gain 10 million followers on Insta in one weekend and people rise up all around the globe, you've won. I think that's pretty much true. I will do a little bit more overtime here, folks. I'm at 32% battery. We're not going to go any further than 10:30. So, Joe, to answer your question, freedom of speech is only when it fits you. No, freedom of speech is all the time. Every American has freedom of speech. You live in the United States of America, you have freedom of speech. That's the First Amendment of the Constitution. Everybody has it. But your freedom of speech is limited by who has the power to do something to you that can tangibly affect you. That I don't know. It depends on each one of your situations. My situation and your situation are not the same. So what somebody could do to affect me is different from what someone could do to affect you. So it depends on who you are. NB, good morning. Thank you. So lovely tie. Thank you. I like this tie too. Nana said, lots of emotional damage in the chat. Yes, there is.
Emotional damage.
Donna said, those sounds didn't last that long. Well, they got to be quick. They got to be a little clip so I can play the sound. I can get back to the next comment. Nick, thanks for the follow. Nathan, congrats on the gifted badge. Unapologetically Canadian. Looking forward to how he connects secular and liberal together. Does he know what secular means? All right, so you're getting a little bit straw. You're getting a little bit straw manish to me. Unapologetically Canadian.
Strawberry cheesecake.
I just gave you my example. That if you put conservatives on one side, liberals on the other side, and I said, which side is more secular, this one or this one? The answer is obviously the liberals. So when I say secular, I'm talking the liberals. And then the question of, do you know what it means? This is the loaded question. You often hear this when people don't like the language that you're using, but instead of actually refuting what you say, what they say is you just don't know what the term means as a way of undermining the speaker or undermining your point rather than actually addressing the point. But nice try. That's what we call the loaded. This is kind of a loaded assumption that you made. That actually is a loaded question.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Mandy G, thanks for the follow. Sayer said, crazy weather we're having. You talking about South Florida? I lost my spot in the comments. Let's see what we got. We got a lot of comments here today, folks. All right. We're going to go no later than 10:30, folks. So we got about 22 minutes. All right, Trisha, I appreciate you. Christina said, Milo posted he's unretiring. Milo who? Duke's mom said, lots of people taking short clips and making accusations, not watching the entire conversation. Well, Duke's mom, that is the internet for you. That's how it works. Maria Lopez, A-Bags, Miss Mississippi, user, Sue Kufal, all Kitty, Mom of California, Robert Torin, Davey, Busted Bots, CC4 God, all thank you for the follows. Rebel said, Charlie was a good man who followed God. Yes, he did. He followed God. And following God makes you enemies in the United States of America, which is, I just think that's crazy. I don't even ascribe to a religion. But just the fact that you being of a religion and devoutly following that religion and being public about following that religion gets people hating you is crazy. I don't care what religion we're talking. We could talk Jew, Christian, Islam, any one of them, that people should not go against you just because you're that religion. And you cannot connect somebody of that religion doing something bad to everybody in that religion, which is also crazy. And we've seen that happen in America for several different religions. The main reason that America was founded so people had freedom of religion to practice how they want to practice. That's what the First Amendment was actually about. Freedom to practice whatever religion you want openly and outwardly without being attacked for it. Jackie, thanks for the follow. So Unapologetically Canadian said, thank you for proving you don't know what secular means. Okay, so let's look up the definition of secular. First of all, you get the loaded comment there. Secular says worldly rather than spiritual, not relating to religion or to a religious body, non-religious, not bound by the full monastic role of a religious order used of clergy. Did I not say? Y'all tell me, did I get this wrong? Did I say secular? People who are secular didn't like that Charlie Kirk was Christian. Did I not say that? Did I not say that? Okay, I know I said it, so I'm not even waiting for the audience to confirm. So, unapologetic Canadian, you are winning
Strawberry cheesecake.
Straw Man of the Day award. Congratulations, you've been campaigning for the award. You got it. Vicky Mitchell said reference cries over CK versus Colin Kaepernick. What? I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. Bravo said Democrats will not have a president in a long time. I highly doubt that. There will be a Democratic president. It always goes back and forth. David, thanks for the follow. Hayden said if he followed God, then he should have spread love, not hate. Love thy neighbor. Well, this is a false frame here because you're assuming that he spread hate. That's a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
KC from NC said elected officials are supposed to have the best interests of the constituents at heart. This is true. Rebel says Charlie was a God-fearing man. That's true. He was. Elena, thanks for the follow. Nana said, mute Hayden and let him sit on his hands in the chat. I didn't see anything. Snow Yo says, wasn't a Charlie Kirk fan, not a liberal, registered independent. Guy has some racist views, such as Snowy. Snow Yo, I'm going to ask you what racist view. Tell me exactly what he said. Silence Camaro says, sad how many are claiming Charlie was hateful and racist based on memes instead of seeing for themselves. I'm just waiting for somebody to actually tell me what he said. Vicky said, could you reference CK versus Colin Kaepernick? Thank you. Charlie Kirk versus Colin Kaepernick? Why? There's no comparison.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
In terms of what? Colin Kaepernick didn't do anything. He took a knee 10 years ago. He stopped playing football, and we haven't heard from him since. What does that have to do with Charlie Kirk? I'm not even understanding the connection you're looking for. Andrea Levitt, thanks for joining. Duke's mom says, some people are just bad. Why do you have to justify by calling it mental illness? Well, mental illness is a get out of jail free card, sometimes literally. Y'all know that guy that did the stabbing in Charlotte is out of jail right now. Did y'all know that? Y'all know the guy got out of jail? He's technically in a mental evaluation for no longer than 60 days. Did y'all know that, though? He is out of jail technically right now. Rebel said, people who are not threats are not assassinated. This is true. Reb said, do you think if it had anything to do with Congress voting on the Epstein files that day? I highly doubt it. And what did the vote produce? A whole lot of nothing. Marcella said, the way he died doesn't ease how he lived, which is spread hate. Okay. Say what the hate was that he spread.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
So I read about 6 comments of people saying Charlie Kirk spread hate, but nobody's actually said what the hate was that he spread. So I'm waiting for one of you to say what the hate was. Hayden said, we need to have a trial for every gender-affirming clinic doctor. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Maybe not in the next 30 years. Snow Yo said, civil rights movement was a mistake. There are arguments about that. Live Free said, Dre, muting people who share their opinions with you. We've been rolling with you for a while. Well, first of all, Live Free, I haven't muted anybody, so you get a straw man for even posing this frame.
Strawberry cheesecake.
And the way you get muted on here is if you are spamming. If you spam the comments, you get muted. Now, you can sharing your opinion does not necessarily mean that you're not spamming. So just because somebody's sharing their opinion does not mean that they're spamming. This is a straw man frame that you did here, Live Free. And I know you've been in here before, but you're throwing some straw man out here, so you got to get a strawberry.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Sharing an opinion does not mean that you're not spamming. If you spam, you get muted or blocked. That's the rule here. K Key, thanks for following. Unapologetically said, Colin Kaepernick Charlie Kirk, called a black pilot a DEI hire. That's not racist. He did not do that. He was referring to black pilots being hired allegedly more often by airlines because the airlines were looking to hire more black people, which is by definition how DEI works. We want to bring in more people of a certain race, so we're going to change our hiring practices so we can get more people of a certain color. That is what DEI hiring is. Is that racist? No, it's not. That's exactly what DEI is supposed to do. So that means you're calling DEI racist, which I don't think you're doing, which is a false frame here. This is a non sequitur. And it's first of all, it's a straight up lie. You're straw manning what he said, that is not what he said. So you get 2 awards.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Check it out. Said the best thing about Charlie was he gave everyone a voice. You just had to speak up. True. We got about 15 minutes here, folks. Then we'll be done. NB, yes, I am. Duke's mom said, if you're going to make a claim, the owner is on onus is on you to show the proof. Yes, exactly. That is correct. If you claim somebody's racist, you got to prove they're racist. You can't just keep saying it and not give actual, what is your evidence? Corinne Quinn said, if the critics took the time to actually listen to CK speak, they would know the truth. I would agree with that. Yes. Cold MF said, Christianity is the hate the devil just couldn't take. He was winning. Yeah, so the thing is, people of the secular world, who are deeply in the secular world, don't want to hear about Christianity because Christianity has principles that you cannot go against, and they're all written down and they're documented. Now, sometimes people take them out of context, but at least there is a set of principles that can be argued about, but the principles exist. In the secular world, there are no principles. It's do whatever you want to do. So those people who are doing whatever they want to do, when someone like Charlie comes out and says, here are my principles, I'm standing right here and I will not cross this line. The people who are all over the place don't like the fact that he's saying that out loud. He's holding the mirror up to them. And it makes sense. It's not saying the whole group, but it makes sense that the alleged shooter was in a relationship with a man posing as a woman, because that doesn't fly in the Christian world, unless you're talking to Raphael Warnock. Now, Rebel said, I love the people that pick and choose and did not ever listen to or watching. Well, that's all the people who have been bashing him. Ruthie said he told black people they weren't oppressed and all they can do is call him a racist for it. Well, Charlie Kirk said a lot of things, and a black person who's living today in America is absolutely not oppressed. But there are a lot of black people who want to hold on to that for several reasons, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole here today. Jennifer Mattern, thanks for the follow. Sophie said he drank tea and honey to save his voice. Yeah, I'm sure he did, as much as he was doing events every day. David said we have the freedom of speech, plain and simple. This is true. Karina said, proud of Jeffree Star. Who's that? Boozy said, he said Martin Luther King doesn't deserve to have a holiday named after him. Well, Boozy, there are black people who agree with that too. So a lot of people have not gone into the depths of what Martin Luther King was actually about and what he was trying to do and the real results of the things that Martin Luther King was after. He has been lionized as he was this person all about black freedom and civil rights, and of course the I Have a Dream speech. And if you listen to the elementary school version of the Martin Luther King story, then why would you not celebrate him, especially if you're black? But there are many black people who have strong challenges to what Martin Luther King was about and how he went about it. So Boozy, I get your frame, but you might want to go listen to what I would suggest you do. And I'm not saying that you're wrong or right. What I would suggest you do is go listen to some people who don't buy into the Martin Luther King story, who are black themselves, and see what they have to say. There was a guy I heard on, I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was on, let me see if I can find it for you, because he was on the Jason Whitlock show. I do listen to Jason Whitlock, but it wasn't Whitlock. It was a guy he had on the show. And the guy was talking about MLK, and he had some very challenging things to say about Martin Luther King. His name is Chad O. Jackson. So look this up on YouTube, Boozy. So I just looked it up on YouTube. Just look up Jason Whitlock and then type in MLK. And his conversations with a black guy named Chad O. Jackson. Chad O. Jackson is the guy in the back with the glasses on. Jason Whitlock's the guy in the front. Chad O. Jackson. I listened to this conversation. This is 2 hours long, 2.5 hours. And this guy is talking about his challenges of Martin Luther King for black people as a black man himself. And again, I'm not saying the guy's right. All I'm saying is listen to that argument and then draw your own conclusion. But the idea that Martin Luther King was just this great person and everything he did for black people was amazing is highly questionable. Rebel said, I guess my comments are never going to be read, so that was it. Well, Rebel, I've read a bunch of your comments. And I'm reading comments from oldest to newest, folks, so I'm not reading them as soon as they come up. Snowy said, he's openly said black people were better off in the 1940s. In context, Snowy, that is out of context.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
What he said, and by the way, I will say this again. There's also a guy named Killer Mike, Michael Render. Y'all know who he is, right? Black guy from Atlanta, rapper and speaker. What Charlie Kirk said was in his conversation. He did that Jubilee video, one person against 20 people, where the people sit around in a circle and run up to argue with him. That was in that conversation. He said that there was a black girl that came up, and what Charlie Kirk said, it got taken out of context, was he said black people as a whole, as a group, were doing better for a black community before civil rights than they were doing after civil rights. That is true. What do you want to look at? You want to look at family wealth? You want to look at the less crime in the community. You want to look at growing in education. You want to look at two-parent households. All of those were better before civil rights in the 1940s than after civil rights, even up to this very day. That is true. So out of context, it looks like he's saying something that sounds ridiculous, but in context, that's what he said. So Snow Yo, what you are showing me here that I'm suspecting is that you saw the clip on X or on TikTok, but you didn't watch the whole video. The video is on YouTube. Look it up. Watch the whole thing. Listen to the whole conversation. It's very easy to pull something out of context and make somebody look crazy if you don't notice that somebody's using that against you. Ryan FL, thanks for the follow. Queen Scandy said, Charlie Kirk was a good and faithful man who never spewed hate. He spoke facts and truth. Well, see, the thing about calling things facts and truth is that people usually say that when they agree with things. I get what you're saying, Queen Scandy, but then people on the other side will say he did spew hate, and it's a fact and the truth that he did spew hate. So we need more context. I get what you're saying, though, but we need more context, folks. Joey Bullington, thanks for the repost. Lexi, you're welcome. Debbie, thanks for the follow. Sean Yell, Person Tum, said, was he a Christian because he said he was? Was he Christian because he demonstrated Christ-like behavior? Well, there's a debate there. I say he's a Christian because he said he was. I say if somebody comes out and says, I follow this religion, then that means they can be held accountable by the principles of that religion. So even if I'm not a Christian and somebody says they're a Christian, I can say to them, hey, is that a Christian principle, what you're doing right now, what you're saying right now, where you're going right now? I would say the fact that he called himself a Christian, I'm no expert on Christianity, so I'm unqualified to say whether he was using Christ-like behavior. If you are, Sean Yell, and you think he wasn't, then tell us what he got wrong. Tell us. So you're posing the question. I'm asking you now, what's the reason you're posing the question? Are you trying to undermine his claim of Christianity, or are you confirming it? But I think if you come out and announce that you're a Christian, well, you're immediately putting yourself in the crosshairs, because now anybody can hold you accountable and say, hey, just yesterday you said you're a Christian. It'd be like if I said something like, I don't consume alcohol, and then you see me the next day drinking a beer, and you're like, yo, you said you don't drink. What you doing? Holding that beer. I just told you. If I say I'm a Christian, now you can hold me accountable. If I say I'm an athlete and you never see me in the gym, you're like, yo, Dre, I never seen you working out. How you talking about you an athlete? So once somebody announces that, now you can hold them accountable. So I say he gets the credit just for the fact that he was announcing it, and he was a very public figure. He had millions of people following him, and he was out in public for everybody to see him. So if he was violating his own principle, tell us where he violated. Because if he did, everybody would know about it. I haven't heard anybody say that since last week, and everybody's been talking about him for 5 days. Changed my mind. Thanks for the follow. Vicky said, I already answered that question. Hayden said, we need to have I already answered that one too. Carla said, at the doctor with my husband. All right, hope everything's good, Carla. Thank you. Jennifer, thanks for the follow. Mr. President, thanks for the follow. We got about 8 minutes here, folks, then we'll wrap it up. Coach Hike said, must respect to Charlie's wife because she's standing strong. I agree. Reba M, thanks for the follow. Dawn, thanks for the follow. Redhead Redemption, thanks for the follow. Texas Mama said, I think when you gain 10 million followers on Insta over a weekend, you win. All right, fair enough. Well, it depends on what you're winning, but okay. Sarah McGrain, thanks for the follow. Dunn said, they make things fit their narrative. They're taking snippets of his words. Well, that's what social media is designed to do. I get it. Jeffro C, thanks for the follow. Twisted said, guns are not violent. The person behind the trigger is. I agree. Lexi said she had to interrupt him to say he had passed. Who interrupted who? DD Fox, thanks for the follow. Ray said, LOL, what is a fact? Anything can be a fact and anything can not be a fact. That's the whole problem. Check it out. Said rainy place lately. Yes, it's been crazy rain in South Florida the last 2 weeks. Let's look at the forecast. Says the next 10 days, 50%, 55%, 65, 75, 65, 65, 60, 45, 40, and 45. Rain possibilities in South Florida. So it's been a rainy month. This is technically a storm season in South Florida, so we take it. Reba said, do you think it had anything to do with Congress voting on? No, I already answered that. I don't think so. Rosie Warren said, great analogy. Thank you. Scotty, thanks for the follow. Twisted Sis said, 1,000% thank you. Vicky Mitchell, thank you. Robin Abuela said, what's happening in Nepal, Europe? Patriots are being tired. I have no idea what's happening in Nepal. Big T, thanks for the follow. Chrissy, Janet Smith, thanks for the follows. 6 minutes here, folks. We're wrapping it up. Me and Nicole said, hard times create strong men, strong men. Good times, weak men, hard times. That is correct. Ryan said, free speech is not going to jail. Was more than that. Lassie, thanks for the follow. Vicky, why do you keep posting the same question? Daniel Finnegan, thanks for the follow. Bravo said, love your channel, man. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Michelle Helvig, so much common sense. Thank you. You're welcome. Sergeant Pepper, good morning. Twisted said 100%, 1000%. Men need to lead and regain their place in the home. Yes, that's correct. CW said ethics, integrity, and character. Thank you. Twisted Sis, thanks for the follow. Michelle said the parent example was great. Thank you. Tiffany said nothing sexier than my husband building something from my chicken coop. All right, fair enough. Shout out to your husband building things for your chicken coop. I helped him change the tire. Barb Shribley said you're a very smart man. Thank you. Brittany Wilkins, Rebo Girl, thanks for the follow. James said you have freedom of speech, not freedom of consequences. That's right. Well, it depends also who can give consequences, because not everybody has the same level of consequences above their heads, so to speak. Rebecca said, have you seen the vet in Oklahoma had to close his practice because of his comments? I have not. I did not see that. We got 4 minutes here, folks. I can't read every comment. Sorry if I missed your comments here today. I'm going to try to read as many as I can, but then we got to wrap this up. I don't have enough time to see everybody's comments. All right, so nothing personal if I don't see your comments. Red Berry Field said, we have the U.S. Constitution, although it's a bit outdated. The Constitution is not outdated. I will challenge that.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
The Constitution was written, more than 200 years ago? It's not outdated. Red Berry Field, what do you mean by that? You sound like, what's that guy, that black guy with the crazy hair? You sound like Eli Mistel. The Constitution is outdated. Just because something is old does not mean it's bad. Just because something is new does not mean it's good. You didn't say that, but I want to know what you mean by outdated. The Constitution is not outdated. Daryl New said, do you have proof he was living with a T person? His grandmother said he wasn't. Well, his actual roommate, who is the person, said that he was. That's the proof. And wait till the trial. We'll see at trial. Somebody's got to take the stand and swear under oath. Sassy Mama, thanks for the follow. Caitlin said, blacks of yesteryear do not suffer for their descendants who have a victim mentality. I agree. Wayne Robinson said, Chad O. Jackson is awesome. I had never heard of the guy before I heard him on that show. So I heard his argument. He made some very good points. Lula Sana said, I read the black family was starving before Lyndon B. Johnson ruined it for them. Well, many black people have said that, but there's a lot of black people who don't want to hear that argument because they will flip to all the other things that were happening at that time, such as there were no civil rights, there was still Jim Crow, there was still segregation. So there's always an ongoing argument there. But yes, that has been said. Yes, we got 200K today. Marky Man, thanks for pointing that out. Caitlin, thanks for the follow. Thank you, everybody, for the likes. 200K today. White Buffalo Maiden said, thank you for your truth today. In today's world, it's dangerous to speak truth. What a sad world. Well, it's dangerous depending on what you consider to be danger. White Buffalo Maiden, I appreciate it. Monica B, thanks for the follow. Sweet Ginger, thank you. Michelle said, MLK had a lot of black leaders that walked away from him right before his death. Fair enough. Sweet Ginger, Heather Brothers, thanks for the follow. Live Free said, it's true, the government didn't drug our communities back then. Okay, that's another piece. That's another piece of it. I get it. Jesse and me Tran, thanks for the follow. Duke's mom said the black family was intact. Well, it was very intact up through before civil rights happened, and then it started to go awry when those policies came into place and things started to go backwards. Samantha, Whimsy, thanks for the follows. Mark Young, thanks for the follow. Dova Quinn said, can you define the difference between sympathy and empathy? These terms are getting confused. Can I define the difference? It's not the topic here today. We only got 2 minutes. If you ask me that tomorrow, I might answer it. Kenneth Hamater, thanks for the follow. Kelsey Nicole, thanks for the follow. All right. Let me see if I can read a couple more comments before we wrap this up here. Marky Man said, a lot of people getting fired for the hate speech against Charlie. Yeah, because the terms have changed. You can't just come out talking crazy about conservatives anymore, at least for now. Lisa DP, Brianna K, Last Farm, all thanks for the follow. Governor verified it too, that he was living with a trans person. I mean, the person came out and talked to the cops. Maya said, I joined late. Do you support Charlie Kirk or no? Do I support Charlie Kirk? Maya, that's a loaded question. What do you mean, do I support him? I don't think it's a good idea to shoot somebody because you disagree with their opinions. If that is support, then yes, I support him. I respect the fact that he stood on his principles, that he was Christian, he was patriarchal, and it was one of the things, he was conservative. Now, not necessarily that I'm any of those things. Actually, I am patriarchal. And he was willing to say those things out loud. I appreciate the fact that he was a man standing on principle, regardless of what his principles were. So if that's called support, then you can say yes. But I don't know what you mean by that. You asked me a loaded question. Who is Milo? Milo unretiring. Milo who? Sergeant Pepper, thanks for the follow. Duke Smile said, DEI casts a shadow on someone's qualifications even if they're 100% qualified. That is correct. And that's the reason why I don't like DEI, even though I'm black. I'm black. I'm supposed to like DEI. Aren't I supposed to like DEI? Is it supposed to help me? I don't like DEI because if I walk into a room, I don't want anybody who is not black to look at me and say, well, the only reason you're here is because they had to hire a black person. No, if I walk into a room, I'm there because I'm good. I walk in a room because I have substance. You see me on a stage or on somebody's show or doing a training or a consulting deal is because I have actual substance, not because I'm black. I just happen to be black. I don't like the reason I don't like DEI is more reasons than just that. But one reason I don't like it is because I don't want anybody looking at me like, oh, they had to bring in a black person, so they got him. But there are many more reasons why I don't like DEI that I'm not going to get into here today. But I already told you I got receipts. I've done entire episodes of why I don't like DEI. So everybody, I got a text message I send out every day called the Daily Motivation. You want to get it for free, text me at my number. My number is 305-384-6894. The number's in my link on TikTok, 305-384-6894. Text me, get into my text community. It is free to get into my texting community. Let me open it up right now because I probably got a bunch of text messages I got to read. As you can see right here, this is my texting community. These are all texts that I've gotten from people just like you. These are just regular people in my texting community. It is free to text me, 305-384-6894, and get into my text community. Text me at that number. You can get copies of my books. Third day book. I'll tell you about one book here today. Actually, let me not do the third day. Let's do the Mirror Motivation. I mentioned one book, mirrorofmotivation.com. Mirrorofmotivation.com. The book is free. Just cover the shipping. Mirrorofmotivation.com. The self-guide to self-discipline. This book is all about how do you be the person you need to be so you can do what you need to do, have what you want to have. Again, the book's free. Just cover the shipping. Mirrorofmotivation.com. Make sure you text me so you're in my text community, 305-384-6894. If you want to work with me directly, you can get into our coaching programs at Work on Your Game University. That is, just get into my texting community. You'll learn about all this other stuff. We got all these other things. I had a link where I can just send y'all to a page where you can see all this stuff, but TikTok told me the link was violating something, so they won't let me show the link. And I'm trying to get TikTok to fix that shit. So as soon as they fix it, then I'll be able to give y'all a link that's in my bio, and y'all can just go straight to the page. But for now, I got to tell you this stuff manually. Again, it's thirddaybook.com. Thanks to all the new people here. Shout out to the new followers. Thank you to my regulars who are always here. Thanks to the people with the logical fallacies and the straw man comments.
Strawberry cheesecake.
And yeah, I don't really mess with Linktree like that. I like to give people one link. I find if I give people more than one link, at least in my experience in the internet, is that they get confused. So I like to give you one link with everything on it. I got the link to my text. You get in my text community, all the things I told you about will be in there anyway. And YouTube just ended my stream. I don't know why I didn't push anything. But anyway, I will be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, everybody. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern is when I do these live. So if you like this one, come back tomorrow. If you didn't like this one, come back tomorrow. If you are not sure about this one, come back tomorrow. If you love what I did here today, come back tomorrow. If you don't like what I did here today, come back tomorrow. You can hate watch what I did tomorrow. And if the jury is out and you're kind of trying to figure it out, come back tomorrow. I'll give you enough material that you can make a decision. Make sure you're following me on TikTok. Follow me on Instagram. My Instagram link is in my profile. The replays to all these live streams are on my YouTube channel. My YouTube link is in my profile as well. Make sure you text me, and I do respond to my text messages, so you will get a text back from me. We do have some automated text in there too, but if I respond back and a person's responding, that's me. That is me responding. That's not my team. That's not my assistant. That's me responding back to you. Text me at my number, 305-384-6894. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Topic to be determined. We might be talking about Charlie Kirk again. This is 3 straight days of talking about this. If the story keeps going, we'll have more to talk about. But we got plenty of other things to talk about. I guess we got to talk about the Epstein file. So we haven't talked about that in a week. Or maybe we got to talk about that. So I'm joking, but I'm not. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Everybody have a great Monday. We are out of here. Work on your game.